I'm not supposed to be here tonight. I'm supposed to be here. I stretch my hand, just as I
I'm on the clock. What you want? Some wheels?
When I get home, I want you.
Aight, I'll get back to work.
Hello, I got places to be.
Boss, some wheels? I can bring them around.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Flex. We have a great show for you tonight. They, a lion, could be brought to heel. They have total control. But a lion would from his courage be pride over every single thing. The lion himself would learn to be. The strength. The lion not care, even if his lion died. Things have to change. But the lion himself would accept such a deal. And they have to change right now. It was only to themselves they had lied. Your voice. Still be held hostage by just correct. When will it end? When will any leader put their foot down and restart American sovereignty? What the world does this? We can run our own country. We control our own military. We control our own government. When I get home, I want I'm not supposed to be here tonight. I'm supposed to be here. I stretch my hand, just as I when I get home, I want you. Hello, I got places to be.
Evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Timothy Steve Wentz. We have a great show tonight.
They a lion could be brought to heel. They have total control. It's a lion that from his courage and pride
Over every single thing.
but a lion himself.
They hold and strength.
Not care, even if his line died,
Things to change.
that the lion himself would expect such a deal.
And they have to change right now.
It was only for themselves they had lied.
Your voice.
Diddy whoop scoop, whoop whoop scoop, diddy whoop, diddy scoop, whoop diddy scoop. My love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no faith, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. One more and more, people just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, one more and more. People just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, instructed is life. Instructed is life. Instructed is life. Instructed is life.
Well, there is something involved where we have to forgive them. We do have to forgive them for their ignorance. We do have to forgive them for their misunderstanding. And we have to embrace them and say, better late than never. Welcome to the right side of history. Welcome to our massive vision, our massive and ambitious vision for how we want the world to be.
When I get home, I want shit. Hello, I got places to be.
Everybody who's watching America First. My name is Timothy Steve Wentz. We have a great show tonight.
Do that again, okay? Mutual. How can I be of service? I can do that.
When can you expect the real victory? And who's going to deliver it? Fans? If they repeal birthright citizenship, his wife wouldn't be a citizen anymore. Yes.
Come here. Get you. Okay. Oh, let's go for it.
Because you have no motion.
I bring your health verification. There you go. Close. Yeah. Whatever. Those are
The race gate is open and the horses are running on the inside track. Stop by and try it.
See that? I'm not AFK.
Jesus is the way and the life and the king of Israel. We just lead with love.
We're really at a crossroads here. Look around. It's drag queens in schools. It's 18-year-olds joining OnlyFans. It's the film on TikTok. It's this country not having a border. It's the idea that our kids and we, this generation, are never going to own anything. Think about it. Never making an income to support a family. Never being able to have a family. People being corrupted, being murdered, even a teenager by things on their phone. Sick addiction to technology. The future is so bleak, but that has changed the calculation.
God is using breaking down all the riches person trying to serve him. I think they've been extremely unfair to you. I think they can't rest.
There is no future if we do nothing now. There is nothing to lose. People that are scrambling, trying to protect their ever-shrinking share of what they have are foolish. It's all going. It's all going away. This country is being ripped apart and raped and looted. We're being slowly poisoned and in some cases quickly murdered and assassinated. And we're killing ourselves every day. Inadvertently, with the kinds of things that we eat and breathe and drink and see, people have got to start to radically begin to obey their conscience and tell the truth and do the right thing. People have got to start to get courageous. And this is the time for everybody to turn and look to God and to pray and to ask for strength and to ask for wisdom to get through this time and to transform and sanctify this country. And the alternative is that there will be no country. Is it really only as big as low gas prices? Is it really only so big as bringing inflation and gas prices and the corporate tax rate back down? It's not about waiting for someone to come in and change the policy and make it better. It's a personal decision that we all have to make to become soldiers of Christ. Somebody does not murder Charlie Kirk because they voted for Kamala Harris. People do not stab young girls on trains because they're born black. People do not shoot Palestinians in the back of the head or cheer it on just because they're Jewish. The people that do this are lost. They have to be isolated and segregated out. A new consensus also emerged. Are you in favor of a society leading? A society where life is sacred, where life has sanctity, people's lives and their dignity and their integrity is respected? Or are we going to live in a society that is a never-ending war between nihilistic tribes, warlords, savages, aliens? We see an emerging consensus, and I think that the majority that truly love America, truly love our children, the people that recognize the vision, the peril that we're in, we need to fortify consensus and rally the people of conscience. The people of comparing towards their fellow man against those that want to kill us, against those that laugh and celebrate when innocent people are harmed. For any reason, for any ideological reason, against people that are cruel, the people that are evil, and by that people that are really cruel, not the people that they didn't agree with, not the people that are provocative, not the people that are sometimes angry, but the people that are really cruel and really evil. What makes Christianity and Christ so different from the other religions is our religion is based on the bearing of suffering for the sake of even those that persecute us. An overflowing of love, an overflowing of self-giving love, so much that they cannot be contained. An unconditional, absolute standard of love for all of God's children, even those that are misguided, even those that persecute us. Across countless moments. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us good.
Yes! Fuck yes! Fuck yeah!
Since July 2025, administration to target students, professors, and professionals inside the United States. This idea is part of an initiative created by the Heritage Foundation, the same group responsible for this Project 2025. Their initiative, titled Project Esther, is taking students participating in this activism or supporting groups that the United States designates as a foreign terrorist organization. Therefore, Palestinian students are considered to be supporting terrorism and are subject to the government databases, with negligence, access issues, denial of basic constitutional rights. In effect, the Convention services means inclusion protections allow the federal government to engage in intelligence gathering activities
activities that would otherwise be considered unlawful. But the Canary mission is not alone. Palantir,
Screaming,
another
don't black
company
screaming,
closely
bro.
aligned with the state of Israel, uses AI-driven analytics to maintain private databases on U.S. citizens and currently works with 4 federal agencies. While government contracting with the private sector is longstanding, the prominent influence of Jewish groups within these increasingly powerful organizations warrants careful examination.
I renew the call for all able-bodied young American men, all of our elite human capital, all of our geniuses, warriors, intelligent people to dedicate themselves to American sovereignty and independence. As Christians, as Americans, as white people, as citizens of the United States. And anybody that settles for anything less is just as much of an enemy, and I would actually consider them worse than our oppressors. So on Independence Day, it's important to reflect on the fact that we are an occupied nation. Now, just like then, we're being ruled by a small country across an ocean, serving itself at our expense. And as long as that is the case, I will always be concerned with that. As long as that is the case, I will always be speaking out against that and fighting against that. And I will always be angry, understanding that that is the fundamental problem. As long as our presidents have to kiss the wall in Israel and we're a small man, as long as they have to say that we want to make Israel great again and they're the greatest country ever, I will never be okay with that. Ever. And it doesn't matter what they offer me or us. It doesn't matter how they might try to placate us, ease our interests, the concessions they'll make. As long as that is the case, it is unacceptable.
Right.
And that's what it makes me. How did we get here? This is not a timeline going back to 1948. What had just happened before the 2016 election? Barack Obama created the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, or the Iranian nuclear deal. And Barack Obama brought together China, Russia, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and the European Union to enforce a nuclear deal that restricts Iran's enrichment of uranium. The early talks were conducted in secret, and the Israelis were furious about this. They hated Obama. Netanyahu went to a joint session of Congress and gave a speech in defiance of the American president and his nuclear deal, and Congress gave 37 standing ovations. This is the background of Trump's first election. 2016 election happens. Trump gets elected with the help of the Israelis. You know, it's all over about what's next. Well, Spyfield, it goes into great detail about the hidden solution in the 2016 election. It wasn't Trump and Russia. It was Trump and Israel. And why was Israel so hell-bent on getting a Republican elected in 16? To scuttle the Iranian nuclear. And that's exactly what happened. That was the ask.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
In 2018, Donald Trump declares the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, which is the military of the regime, a terrorist group, green lights that for sanctions, for attacks, and the United States is in a shadow war with Iran. It culminates by January 2020 in the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani was the architect of the axis of resistance. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Soleimani built all of it. Are you starting to see Obama had this solved? He made the deal. The Israelis hated him for it. They colluded with Trump to get him elected so that Trump would do maximum pressure and create a ladder of escalation, pulling us out of the deal, declaring the IRGC terrorists, and killing its leader, putting sanctions on the regime. This is a war that started a long time ago that Trump fought in 2018, and it's been going on for 7 years. That's the nature
What the
of
fuck kind of vehicle is it?
just like in Iraq. It's went from
What the
1990
hell?
until today.
Oh,
just like
fuck.
Libya, which went from 2011 to today. Syria, which went from 2011 to today. And Iran, which went from 2018 until today. That's the nature of forever. And if you're not paying attention to these underlying forces, you're going to fall for it again and again. You're going to be surprised and confused and coping over and over. And people are just tripping over themselves to do it again.
Damn.
Hello, this is Morse. I'll look into it.
I'm like 2 seconds out from just joining the Jews at this point. It's like I started out with the Jews were pressing us, then it's like, no, the Jews were pressing only you. Maybe I need to be
Fuck.
They're personally actually first. You know, if you can't give us acknowledgement, now you want to stand and vote on us. It's not right. It's not right. Okay.
It's a Monday.
Good evening, everybody. Staying America first, but it's like this game. Main Street, 3 to 9. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Lots to get into. Big show. The Jews. Americans. But they know the next generation is with us, and they're writing about it in the New York Times. They said anywhere between 30 and 40% of the White House staff.
He's about ready to get a whore. That's fucking funny.
It all means nothing if we don't get our people in office, if we don't get our people in government, and that's why I tell Kuipers, don't let them put your name on the list. Try to see your views like they do. Like they do. Don't let Levin put you on the list. Your job is to get into the Ivy Leagues. Your job is to get into these offices, do what you need to do, say what you need to say. Hold them close to the chest. We plead for America. That's why I like to raise the right hand. You don't have to broadcast it to everybody, and you can say what you need to say. America first. It's Christ is King. And you're not going to know how many of us there are, and you're not going to know which one of us we are. And you're not going to get a good count. You're not going to know all our names. And slowly but surely, you will be encircled and you will be surrounded. And one day, you're going to wake up and be quite party.
You're through to HQ. That shouldn't be a problem. I'll have your personal vehicle collected as soon as possible.
Dude, what the fuck, man?
You're through, boss. That shouldn't be a problem. I'll have your personal vehicle collected as soon as possible.
Right. Right. Fuck.
Jesus is the way and the life and the King of Israel. We just lead with love.
We're really at a crossroads here. Look around you. It's drag queens in schools. It's 18-year-olds joining OnlyFans. It's the filth on TikTok. It's this country not having a border. It's the idea that our kids and we, this generation, are never going to own anything. Think about it. Never making an income to support a family. Never being able to have a family. People being corrupted before they're even a teenager by things on their phone. Sick addiction to technology. The future is so bleak. But that has changed the calculation.
God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve Him. I think they've been extremely unfair to you. Who is they, though? We can't say they is press.
There is no future if we do nothing now. There is nothing to lose. People that are scrambling, trying to protect their ever-shrinking share of what they have are foolish. It's all going away. This country is being ripped apart and raped and looted. We're being slowly poisoned and in some cases quickly murdered and assassinated. And we're killing ourselves every day, inadvertently, with the kinds of things that we eat and breathe and drink and see. People have got to start to radically begin to obey their conscience and tell the truth and do the right thing. People have got to start to get courageous. And this is the time for everybody to turn and look to God and to pray and to ask for strength and to ask for wisdom to get through this time and to transform and sanctify this country. And the alternative is that there will be no country. Is it really only as big as low gas prices? Is it really only so big as bringing inflation and gas prices and the corporate tax rate back down? It's not about waiting for someone to come in and change the policy and make it better. It's a personal decision that we all have to make to become soldiers of Christ. Would you look at the time? Would you look at the time? The broken clock. Would you look at the time? Print your apology forms.
When I get home, I want you. Hello, I got places to be.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Francis. We have a great show for you tonight. No one's allowed to say that the blood is a quintessential part of this, that the blood of our people is something that is essential, that we are different, that America was different because we are different. Palantir is an AI data analytics company. They use artificial intelligence to look at vast amounts of data and create insights. If the government has an amount of data which is kind of unimaginable, if you've got every phone call, every email, every transaction, every photograph of a license plate on the highway, satellite data, it's too much data for a bureaucracy to sift through. Palantir comes in and interprets the data using algorithms, using artificial intelligence, using software to make vast amounts of data usable. That's what they are. And so many of the people that worked with Elon that came into the government through Doge worked with Palantir. Now that Doge is finished, Palantir seems to be just getting started. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me just say, are you trusting?
Okay.
When I get home, I want you. Hello, I got faces to beat.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Okay. Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. The Jews. Americanism.
absolutely. And who's going to deliver it? Citizens? If they repeal first-right citizenship, wouldn't be a citizen anymore. No, I'm saying this is we brainwashed out here, bro. Come on, free man talk.
Wall.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let me just say, are you trusting?
When I get home, I want to. Hello, other places to be.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Place. We have a great show for you tonight.
My love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no power, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no fame, he's got his strong beliefs. My love has got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. One more and more, people just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, one more and more, people just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, free from it is fire. This is purified, free from it is fire. This is purified, free from it is fire. This is purified, free from it is fire.
If we don't have freedom on the internet in the age of AI, we are going to be mind raped every day forever. Think about it. Anything you've ever said or done in the vicinity of your phone's camera or microphone, everything you've ever put into your phone, and even things that are not necessarily so scandalous, but even things like favorite restaurants, your geolocation, because your phone also has a GPS. They know where you are at all times. They know where you go and when. They know what you buy. They have access to your bank account. AI will literally know everything about you. Everyone you know, your relationship to them, your tastes, your preferences, your habits, your whereabouts, your routines, your schedule, when you're asleep. They know how much REM sleep you're getting. They know your resting heart rate. They know how many calories you consume. Think about the ways that they can manipulate. You have a computer in your refrigerator, computer in your car, computer in your home security system, computer in your everything, computer in your clothes, your watch, your glasses, your VR headset, your alarm clock. You have smart home, economy of things. It's like total rape of everybody by the system forever. I life is like a first-person video game, you know? This is my primary. This is me like walking down the hall. This is my primary weapon. Press circle to interact. Press circle to interact with this item. At the end of the day, here's the question. Is it worth it to save the country? Does the country matter? Is it worth it to preserve our civilization? Is it worth it to preserve our religion? Maybe bigger than that, is the truth worth it? What is the truth worth to you? What is telling the truth worth to you? Is it worth something? Nothing? What are you willing to give to tell the truth? All you need is Jesus. All you need is prayer. These material appetites, they will never be satisfied, and even if they are, it will never be an adequate substitute for communion with our Holy Father, with somebody, with the author of the world. And every mother and father understands the love for a child, and that is how we were made, or designed that way, because through that experience, we could understand, by analogy, God's love for us. It says in Revelation that God will wipe away every tear. And that's like, to me, it makes me want to cry when I read them. People experience these things in their lives. We've all been there, where you feel like the whole world's against you, or the walls are closing in. And you read something like that that says that God, like our Father, our Creator, is going to wipe your tears off your face. Christianity is love. Our God is love.
Holocaust denier, Nick Fuentes.
It's going to be only America first. America first. The American people will come first once again. The respect that we deserve
everybody, you're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Monday. We're going to be talking all about the war in Iran. Can't even believe I'm saying it, but we're back here from our short weekend. I did a little emergency broadcast on Saturday night, and we talked all about the outbreak of the war and what we knew at the time. We are now on day 3. And so tonight we're going to be talking about everything that we've learned. We're going to talk about the developments in the war. And specifically, we're going to talk about a few things tonight, things that we actually just learned today. First and foremost, and to me, this is the most interesting thing that has come across our desk here. Today, we actually have official confirmation, as official as it gets, from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, but this is also retold in the New York Times, and it's claimed by other officials inside the administration. Unambiguously, Israel dragged us into this war. Not a conspiracy theory. It's not speculation. It's not even a theory. It is a fact. And today, Marco Rubio came out addressing the press pool, and he said, the reason we went to war is because Israel was preparing to strike whether we intervened or not. This is the statement. This was reported in the Times earlier today, and then Rubio confirmed that Israel was going to hit Iran regardless. So the decision was whether we would join them or not. The decision was made to join them because in the event that Israel struck Iran without us, Iran would retaliate against us regardless. This is the messaging. This is the statement. They said, so, if we're going to get hit anyway, if Iran already has the missile launch platforms in place and the coordinates are entered in, and we're going to get hit no matter what, Rubio said, well, so we might as well hit Iran too, and we'll mitigate the potential damage from that inevitable retaliation. Now, here's the problem. It leaves out the fact that there is obviously a third option. So the way that Rubio tells the story is that Israel is planning to hit Iran. So the decision is binary. Either we're going to hit Iran with Israel or not. And if we're going to get retaliated against regardless, well, we might as well hit Iran too. Okay, but why are we starting in the middle of the story? Why don't we rewind and consider that Israel is a client state of the United States of America, completely dependent on U.S. military aid, U.S. military technology, U.S. diplomatic cover in the United Nations for sanctions, its deterrent force. Why is Israel making decisions here? Aren't they the client? Aren't they the satellite, the puppet? We're the superpower. We're the country of 350 million people. We're the country with the $30 trillion GDP. We have a $1 trillion military and the aircraft carriers and the 5,000 nuclear warheads. Why does Israel get to make the decision? Netanyahu picks up the phone and calls the White House and says, well, I've made the decision. We are going to war. You're either with us or not. And we have no recourse but to say, we're with you, maybe we're not. Obviously, the decision that should have been made, and I said this from the very beginning, if you want peace in the Middle East, Iran is not the problem. Iran is not the problem. Iraq was not the problem. Syria was not the problem. Israel is the problem. Why is there no peace in the Middle East? Because Israel does not want it. Israel will not let any of us have it. So if you want to deal with Iran, if you want to stabilize the region, the word you're looking for is restraint. We enable them, we empower them, they're dependent on us. If we want peace, it is incumbent on Washington to restrain Israel. Not Iran, not Russia, not China, not Syria, not the Houthis, not Hezbollah. We have to restrain Israel. And the U.S. president cannot or will not do that, and that is why we have war. So we'll talk all about that. We're also going to talk about the advice of J.D. Vance. What happened there? Where are all of the J.D. Vance supporters? Isn't J.D. Vance the based white dude? He's just like us. He's just a white guy. He's just a white guy like us. He plays Halo. Sorry, where's the based white dude, J.D. Vance, who just wants to play Halo and drink Code Red and everything? Where's he? Oh, well, it turns out he supported the war. Nobody in Trump's cabinet opposed the war, including Vance. Vance was actually pushing for us to do as much as possible. So, when the U.S. was considering whether to enter the conflict and how to enter the conflict, Vance was pushing for us to go bigger and wider. Vance, according to the New York Times, actually encouraged the administration to do a full-fledged war. So what the hell happened there? Huh? We were led to believe this is the guy who is going to save us in 2028? He's actually more hardcore? Tucker Carlson encouraged Trump to nominate J.D. Vance last year. Tucker said, you need to pick J.D. Vance as assassination insurance. If the neocons know that Vance would succeed you in the event of your death or impeachment, well, then they would be apprehensive about it because they're afraid of Vance. Because he's the real deal. So what happened to that? These are things that were seriously said 2 years ago. That Vance was somehow more hardcore. He was the guarantor of the America First agenda. Yeah, well, now he's supporting the conflict. Big surprise. We'll talk about that, vindicated, and that as well. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the now unignorable reality, which is that there is no plan here. There is no plan. There is no strategy. There is no plan in place. Let me tell you what the plan seems to be. So Israel's going to launch this strike. The U.S. determines that if we want to mitigate the casualties on our side, at our bases in the Gulf, we are going to have to intervene. If we intervene, we should go big and disrupt their command, control, and communications and destroy their missile launch platforms so they can't retaliate. Once more, we are decapitating the government. We killed the supreme leader. The CIA got intelligence. He would be at his residential compound on Friday. And so they made the move. Okay, so now what? Well, the Trump administration says, Pete Hegseth says, it ain't no regime change. We're not doing regime change. Well, the Iranians are not surrendering, and they haven't run out of missiles. Meanwhile, we are running out of missile interceptors. They still have a 1 million-man army. So what exactly is the plan here? Where is this going? Nobody really knows. Nobody knows. If the Iranian regime doesn't surrender, will the regime be toppled? Nobody knows. By who? No clue. So what if the regime doesn't surrender? What's the plan? Keep bombing them? How long? Forever? Indefinitely? For months? For years? Trump even said, which is amazing, Trump said he is not ruling out boots on the ground. Says he doesn't have the yips about boots on the ground like other presidents. Pete Hegseth said the same thing. He said, we don't need to send in 200,000 soldiers, but we're not ruling out boots on the ground. Okay, so are we going to get a ground war in Iran unless they surrender because we've bombed them into submission? Like, what exactly is the plan? Nobody seems to know. And that's maybe the scariest thing about all this. It's just chaos. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to try to make some sense out of it on the show. We'll go through, like I said, some revelations about how we got here. And then we're going to talk about how the war has been. And it's going to be a good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Check out our merch store, Fuentes.store. We have our Kuiper Intelligence Agency hat, as seen on James Fishback's head. He signed one of these in Florida, which was pretty cool. And he's excellent. He said it has two meanings: Goyim in abundance, Kuiper Intelligence Agency. So as seen by the Fishback campaign, check it out. We also have the classic America First hats. Look, we have to get rid of these. These are going in the garbage. This is going on your head. When it's MAGA night at the White House, when we go and protest World War III at the White House, and we get drone strike by Palantir, we're going to need these, okay? Get your blue hats, because we're going to need them. Or we may need them. If there's a protest, if there's an event, this is what you need, okay? Fuentes.store. Also, if you want to support the show, subscribe on our website, AmericaFirst.plus. $15 a month. We have our brand new and improved website. You get every episode of the show, every debate I've done, every speech, every gaming stream, commentary stream, thousands and thousands of videos. It's all there. We have them in MP3 format and RSS feed. You can download the MP3 of the show as well on the website, and the video player is better than Rumble. So some people complain about the video player on Rumble. The new website has a much better video feed, and we have the most recent 5 episodes on the website for free. So if you even just want to watch the replay of the show, watch it on the website, AmericaFirst.plus. It's a better viewing experience. $100 a month, you get to be in the exclusive group chat with me, but that's a little hush-hush. That's for the high rollers. We're going to keep that one kind of low-key. But that's AmericaFirst.plus. Okay, we're going to dive into the show because there's a lot to talk about. And I hope you caught my show on Saturday. We did a little emergency live stream. The war broke out Friday night, and this was not really a big surprise. I said on my previous show on Thursday that most likely we were looking at strikes this weekend. And without getting too much into details, you had that third and final round of negotiations between Iran and the United States on Thursday morning. They held those talks in Switzerland. And as we talked about, this is how it began. Jared Kushner was running, and Steve Witkoff traveled to Switzerland, and they gave Iran an ultimatum. And the ultimatum was Iran has to dismantle its nuclear enrichment facilities. They have to pledge to never enrich again. They have to give up their highly enriched uranium to the United States, and this can never sunset. So this just goes on in perpetuity. They're going to be a non-nuclear state. And Iran rejected all of these demands. So on Thursday, I said, more likely than not, these negotiations are now dead. The U.S. has made it clear that these are our demands, and they've been making it clear for several weeks. Their red line has not moved. And the Iranians are no more willing to accede to those demands than they were a couple weeks ago, a year ago, 7 years ago. I said, so war is basically inevitable. This deal is not happening. Neither side is backing down. And if a deal isn't going to happen, then a war is going to happen. And it's going to happen sooner rather than later because of the calculus of how that war is going to play out. So that's where we left off on Thursday. It's funny, I didn't even do a show on Friday because I thought you guys were sick of hearing about Iran. That was all that had happened in the news. And so I said to myself, I'm not going to torture these people. I'm not going to torture my favorite viewers with another boring show about Iran. But sure enough, they made the move and they launched the war on Friday. And just to recap some of these developments from Saturday, we'll go very quickly and then we'll get on into the latest. Make no mistake about it, we are now engaged in a full-fledged regime change war in Iran. That is what Trump announced on Friday night. And specifically, he said the goal of this operation is to destroy Iran's navy, to destroy its missile production capabilities, to destroy its missiles and missile launch platforms, and to kill the military and civilian leadership of the country. He said the operation would go on as long as it needed to, and when it is over, He encouraged the Iranian people to emerge from their shelters and to rise up against the government, and that this is their opportunity to take their country back. Now, the United States has done exactly this. We have completely destroyed Iran's navy. Their navy was finished in 24 hours. And so one of the big risks involved in the war was the threat that Iran would use its navy to close the Strait of Hormuz, which is a narrow sea route which gives access from the Indian Ocean to the Persian Gulf. So I believe it's about 20% of all the world's fossil fuels flow through the Strait of Hormuz. All of the Persian Gulf's oil and its liquefied natural gas from Kuwait, from the Emirates, from Qatar, Saudi, Iran, it all goes through there. That's the choke point. And the big risk involved in the war is that Iran would attack those ships, close the strait, and constrain global energy supplies, and that would increase prices everywhere, including in the United States. That was one of the big risks. Well, that has been neutralized because the Navy's been destroyed. As far as the missiles are concerned, this is Iran's other deterrent weapon. So we've talked about their nuclear program, and we've discussed how that is really a hedge. They're hedging their bets. Why are they halfway between not having a nuclear weapon and having a nuclear arsenal? Because they're effectively saying, if we are attacked, then we'll build a bomb. And that will deter an invading army like the U.S. or Israel or a would-be attacker from putting Iran in an existential situation. Well, the missiles are like the second best option. If the U.S. and Israel attack Iran, Iran has thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles, which not all of them can be intercepted. And so these are, you press a button, they go up, and they will kill people, they'll destroy critical infrastructure. And the success rate of intercepting the missiles last year was about 86%. So if Iran launches, let's say for the sake of argument, 100 missiles, 14 of them are getting through. And in a city like Tel Aviv, in a city like Dubai, that's a problem. If you've got 15 or 20 missiles landing every single day, for every 100 that are launched, that's a problem. And so this is a deterrent threat. Well, in the first 48, 72 hours of the conflict, Israel claims that 50% of Iran's missile launch platforms have been destroyed. So they're using up their arsenal. Their actual launch platforms have been destroyed. So that ability has been, let's say, subdued for the time being. So the United States is sort of achieving its objectives. As it stands right now, the conflict looks pretty one-sided. Iran, its airspace is controlled by the U.S. and Israel. They say that the U.S. and Israel have launched thousands of airstrikes now against regime targets, against weapon systems, all throughout the entire country. And Iran is not able to effectively fight back. They have no effective anti-aircraft systems. Their air force has not been competent. Even their missiles have been so far mostly intercepted. It looks pretty one-sided. And then finally, the United States has also been successful at assassinating the military and civilian leadership of the country. In the first round of strikes, the United States assassinated the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who is the supreme leader of Iran, which is a huge deal. That would be like killing the King of England or like Putin. This is their head of state. He is the top cleric of the country. He is the head of the revolutionary regime. And so killing him is a significant blow. And they've also killed a number of people that run the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, which is the paramilitary vanguard that answers to the Ayatollah. And they've killed a number of other civilian and military leadership on top of that, too. So that is how the war is progressing so far. Now, before we get further into where all this is going, because I think that even though the war has been one-sided so far, that may not be the case in the coming days and weeks. And we'll talk a little bit more about the strategy. But before we do, first of all, I want to talk about the justification for this war, how we got here, because it's very interesting. As you know, I have been predicting for 2.5 years that we would be engaged in a war with Iran. I have been predicting this since October 7th, 2023. Nobody is talking about October 7th, 2023 anymore. Why not? The reason why October 7th matters is because you have to consider that we didn't start out in a war with Iran. This has been slowly building for a very long time. And in order to understand exactly how we got here, because it's sort of surreal, I seriously wake up today, yesterday, Saturday, and even though I have been predicting this, and I believe it in my bones, and I've analyzed it, and I've talked about it on the show, honestly, I still can't believe it's actually happening. It's really, when I see the headlines, which are that the U.S. and Israel are bombing Iran every day, we're at war with Iran, we're in a regime change war with Iran, this like once and for all confrontation, you got to understand, this has been building for 20 years. I've watched it my entire life. I got into politics in 2012, and I became very interested in this topic when the original nuclear deal was signed in 2015. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that was 11 years ago. And so this war has been a long, long time in the making, and it really has always been a question, will we or won't we? It was always unthinkable that we would. There was this expectation that we had made this mistake so many times in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria. There was such a small appetite for more of this among the American electorate. It felt inevitable, but at the same time, it also felt unthinkable. It felt inevitable that Israel and the Jews would get what they wanted, that the momentum, the inertia behind this terraforming strategy in the Middle East was unstoppable, and it was really just a certainty. At the same time, it was unthinkable how a government could do this, would do this. Nobody wants this. And the latest polling from everybody, from Reuters, Washington Post, it all says that this war is about a 27% approval rating. That means that the war in Iraq was twice as popular. Okay? The bombing run last year in June had an 80% approval rating among Republicans, 60% overall. So Iraq was more popular. Afghanistan was more popular. I think Syria was more popular. Midnight Hammer was more popular. You just look at Trump and you're filled with disgust. You look at him, he's a totally diminished figure. Watching him on Friday declare this war in a sad little hat, no tie, with a black curtain, he's 80 years old, he doesn't even care. He's at a ceremony today, pinning a medal on a soldier, slurring his words, stumbling over his speech. You look at this guy and you're like, who are you? Seriously, who are you? What is this? It's actually scary. It's actually disturbing. And the reason I say that I've witnessed this my whole life, I've watched all these developments. I watched the original nuclear deal get signed, and I heard all the arguments about it then. And we watched Trump come down the escalator in 2015, in June, and he said, we should have never went to Iraq. There were no weapons of mass destruction. They knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. We don't have it. We spent all this money. And to think 10 years later, we're doing this? You look at Trump and it's like, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are. You are demonic. You are a demonic force. And what's really freaky is now he's always talking about going to heaven. I'm not going to heaven. Yeah, I think you might be right about that, because you are a demonic force. You are a liar. You are diabolical. You are a traitor. And let me explain why I feel so strongly about this. Let's talk about some of these developments from today. So bringing up that speech again on Friday, Trump lays out the case for going to war with Iran. He's bringing up the Iranian hostage crisis in 79. He's bringing up the barracks bombing in Beirut in 83. He's bringing up the use of IEDs by Iranian-backed militias, the Quds Force, the IRGC in Iraq and elsewhere in the Middle East. And he lays out the case that we had to hit Iran because they are a danger to the world, they're a danger to America, they're working on a nuclear bomb, and they're unwilling to negotiate. That is what Trump told us was the justification for war on Friday. Now understand, this is a war of aggression. Plain and simple. The United States was not under attack at all. Iran poses no threat to the United States. They are not building a nuclear bomb because they cannot. Because we already bombed their nuclear facilities last year. So we're not in any danger. We're not acting in self-defense. One way to say it is that this is a preemptive attack. But preempting what exactly? Well, more on that in a moment. This is a war of choice. This administration chose to go to war. We weren't forced into it like we were in Pearl Harbor or in 9/11. Arguably, at least in those contexts, there was a nominal reason. And both of these things are debated, whether Pearl Harbor was really a surprise, whether 9/11 was not an inside job, or if it was. This is a war of choice, purely, and a war of aggression. The Trump administration thought that it could remove the Ayatollah from power, and so we made a decision to kill a foreign head of state because they are a rival, because they are a revisionist power. So we made a decision to go in there. Let's just put that out there for openers. Now, that is what Trump said on Friday. What we have since learned, however, is that this is really a lie. Trump said we're going to war because Iran is sponsoring all this terrorism, and they're a historical antagonist, and they're a threat to world safety. Again, none of this is true. As I said, war of choice, war of aggression. But Trump's own statement on Friday has today been undermined by his own Secretary of State, and according to reports in the New York Times. And this is a story. This is from Alibaba. It says, quote, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has suggested that a planned Israeli attack on Iran determine the timing of Washington's assault on the government in Tehran. The top diplomat told reporters on Monday that Washington was aware Israel was going to attack Iran and that Tehran would retaliate against U.S. interests in the region. So U.S. forces struck preemptively. So this is the preemptive strike. Sort of an interesting logic, isn't it? Rubio said, quote, we knew there was going to be reaction. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. The state secretary's comments came minutes before the U.S. military confirmed that its death toll from the conflict had risen to 6 after 2 bodies were recovered from a regional facility struck by Iran. So, think of the logic here. What was this preempting exactly? Well, Rubio said Israel was going to attack Iran. Israel was not in any danger. They were not going to be bombed. They didn't get bombed. Israel made the decision that they were going to began to be put in motion after October 7th. This is Israel's timeline. Israel's world. This is the Jews' world, and we're living in it. This is Israel's world, and we're living in it. This is their timeline, their tempo, their discretion. Rubio says that Israel informed us they were going ahead with the attack, and we were given the option of participating or not. So Israel was launching its war of choice, its war of aggression. They were going to bomb Iran. Well, Israel was not going to be very successful because Israel doesn't actually have that big of an air force. And so if Israel went at it alone, maybe they would have gotten themselves in trouble and they couldn't handle it. And we would have to come in and save the day. And you know what else would have happened? If Israel went in by themselves, they would not have absolutely destroyed Iran's command, control, and communications, and they would not have destroyed Iran's missile launch platforms. So if Israel triggered the war and didn't finish it, all that would do is force Iran to retaliate, not just against Israel, but against us, because we are the sugar daddy for Israel. So Iran was then planning on hitting U.S. military facilities in the United Arab Emirates, in Qatar, in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Iraqi Kurdistan, in Jordan. Even they hit targets in Oman as well, which is actually a neutral country. So think about the logic here. Israel was planning on attacking Iran. It would have been an unsuccessful attack. All it would have done is put Israel in harm's way, knowing they couldn't save themselves, and triggering Iran to retaliate not just against them, but against us. In other words, Israel was going to trigger an attack that would kill a lot of Americans. So in order to preempt Iran's counterattack, we had to join Israel's war of choice. Think about the rhetoric here. Israel is unprovoked, aggressively attacking Iran for no reason, literally no reason. Israel is attacking Iran because they felt like it, because they chose to, because of their ambitions in the region. Israel wants Iran gone, and Israel gets what it wants. So Israel aggressively and with choice attacked Iran. Iran was going to counterattack against us too, so we had to preempt the counterattack. Preempt the imminent threat from Iran retaliating against us for Israel bombing them. That's our preemptive war. Okay? Now, let's just state the obvious here. Israel was probably not going to attack Iran by themselves. Why was Israel intimating that they would? Why? Perhaps they would have followed through. Why would they have carried out a unilateral strike? Because this is exactly what they wanted. If they tell the United States, we're going it alone, guess all your troops are going to get killed in the crossfire. Oops. They know exactly what they're doing. Israel provoked this, triggered this. They know that if they attack Iran, Iran is going to rain missiles on American bases, and a lot of Americans are going to die. And that would drag the United States into a war. Think about it. And by the way, that was reported in all the papers of record last week. In Politico, they said the logic inside the administration is that they maybe wanted Israel to attack Iran first, because then Iran would hit our bases, and that would create a better justification for the United States to enter the war. You could sell it to the public. But when you think about it, whether Israel attacked alone or with us, we would eventually be dragged into the conflict. If Israel attacked alone and Iran bombed all of our bases, we would be attacking Iran. The only difference is, if we go in at the beginning with Israel, then fewer of our soldiers would die. Because if we go in at the very beginning, we can hit Iran a lot harder than Israel can. We can kill more of the leadership. We can destroy more of the missile launch platforms. But you understand that Israel checkmated us. They reduced the number of outcomes and possibilities. They cut off all the off-ramps. They burned the boats. At a certain point, they made it so that there was no scenario where we don't go to war. If Israel attacked Iran, Iran would retaliate against us, we would have to intervene. And a lot of dead Americans would result from that scenario. So to prevent that, we had to go in with Israel at the beginning, and we find ourselves bombing Iran when we really don't need to, and we really shouldn't, and I think we really don't even want to. Israel, in a word, orchestrated this. And this is part of a pattern. Do you know that every confrontation with Iran has been orchestrated? Israel, we don't need to go through the whole timeline. Let's just go back to October 7th. In April 2024, under President Joe Biden, Israel launched an airstrike in Syria. They targeted a consulate building owned by Iran in Syria's capital, Damascus, and Israel killed 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders. Israel launched that airstrike. Israel killed Iranian personnel in a diplomatic building in Syria. And so Iran had to retaliate against Israel. Iran, in response, launched 50 ballistic missiles at Israel in a largely telegraphed, symbolic response. But what happened before Iran retaliated? Joe Biden sent 2 aircraft carriers into the Middle East to deter Iran from retaliating too strongly. And those carriers, with their destroyers in tow, they intercepted those missiles. It was U.S., French, American, Jordanian, Saudi forces that shot down those missiles in April of 2024. And so what did Israel do 2 years ago? They provoked Iran by killing their personnel in a diplomatic building in Syria, triggering Iran to attack them. And an attack on Israel invites the United States into the theater to defend Israel. And then we find ourselves in the region. Then we find all these assets in the Middle East, and we find ourselves engaging Iran in a defensive context. Now you have U.S. and Gulf and European forces shooting down Iranian ballistic missiles. That was April of 2024. Joe Biden kept us out of that war. Joe Biden didn't bomb Iran. He deployed carriers to deter them and shot down their missiles and then left. What did Israel do 3 months later? Well, at the end of July 2024, Israel assassinated the political leader of Hamas in Tehran, Iran's capital. And not just on any day, but after Iran's president mysteriously died in a helicopter crash, Ebrahim Raisi, they were inaugurating their new president, Masoud Pezeshkian. It was on the inauguration day of their new president that Mossad went into Iran's capital, blew up the safe house for Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh. Another provocation, assassinating a foreign leader on Iranian soil on the inauguration day of their new president. And we did it all over again. Joe Biden deployed 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East, and the Iranians put in place True Promise again. And they retaliated this time against Israel with over 100 ballistic missiles. And once again, we shot them all down. This was in October of 2024. And Biden kept us out of the war. But once again, same thing. What do we see? We see that Israel provokes Iran. This is the pattern. Israel goes into Iran's capital, provokes them, triggering Iran to retaliate, and that invites us into the theater to defend them yet again. Then Trump gets elected, inaugurated January 2025. Netanyahu is the first foreign leader to visit the White House. February 4th, 2025. Netanyahu comes to the White House, and do you know what he's asking for? He's asking us to go to war with Iran. Like clockwork, okay? Iran hits Israel on October 24. In February 25, there's Netanyahu saying, hey, time to pay up. We got you elected, now you need to bomb Iran. And you know what else? Our national security advisor, Mike Waltz, at that time, he was pushing on behalf of Netanyahu for Trump to go to war in Iran as well. And for several months, there was a heated debate inside the administration whether and when and how to attack Iran. And so February goes by, March goes by, April goes by. Netanyahu returns to the White House a second time, a week after Liberation Day, with tariffs. And once again, Netanyahu pleads with Trump to bomb Iran. Trump says, we're going to give Iran 60 days. He announces this during the joint press conference with Netanyahu. They've got 60 days to negotiate, and if we can't reach a deal, then we will bomb Iran. 60 days passes. Netanyahu is sabotaging the diplomacy throughout. On the 61st day, 1 day outside of the deadline, June 13th, 2025, what does Israel do? They launch Operation Rising Lion, an all-out attack, preemptive attack on Iran, hitting Iran's nuclear facilities at Natanz, Fordo, Esfahan, and also hitting elsewhere. They actually started the attack with drone and missile attacks from inside the country. And they launched them against the Iranian military and the civilian leadership. They launched a massive cyber attack. And then Iran's Air Force came in and they bombed Iran. Once again, they launched the attack, a preemptive attack. They hit Iran. But oh no, what happened after Israel hit Iran and claimed victory? Well, Iran started hitting Israel back. And for nearly 2 weeks, Iran was raining missiles down on Israel, volleys of hundreds of ballistic missiles. And again, the intercept rate was about 86%. So many of those missiles were getting through. In the desert, where the nuclear plant is, at the Mossad sites, at other military sites. It also turns out that Israel by itself was not able to destroy Iran's nuclear infrastructure. And they knew they couldn't, because Iran's nuclear infrastructure is famously deep underground and fortified by mountains and actually thousands of feet of earth. So Israel hit all these facilities, knowing they could not achieve their objectives. They hit Fordo, they hit Natanz, knowing that they would not actually finish the job and destroy those sites. It triggered an Iranian retaliation, and they knew it would. And they knew that in a protracted war of attrition, they would not be able to shoot down all these missiles. So famously, what did the United States have to do? Well, we had to show up and bail them out. We had to show up and shoot down the ballistic missiles, just as we had to in April 24, just as we did in October 24. Same pattern. Israel provokes Iran, triggers a retaliation. We've got to shoot down the missiles. In all three of those cases, except this time, we also had to go in and finish the job. Israel hit those nuclear sites. Nuclear weapons are called strategic weapons. You can't attack another country's strategic weapons. That's an all-out act of war. And if Israel hits Iran's nuclear sites and they are not destroyed, what's the first thing that Iran is going to do? Well, they're going to race towards a nuclear bomb. Because either the sites will eventually be destroyed, or they will produce a nuclear bomb to deter that from happening. So, in other words, Israel started a war it knew it couldn't win or finish, least of all achieve its objectives. They started a war that they knew would trigger an Iranian retaliation that is not survivable. And they also knew that not only could they not achieve their objectives, but actually it would accelerate the Iranian nuclear program. By not finishing off those sites, it might actually accelerate the timeline for Iran to acquire a bomb. So that required the United States not only to defend Israel, but also to finish off the nuclear sites offensively, which is what we then did. And on the final day of the war, we went in with B-2 stealth bombers, and we dropped the bunker buster bombs, 35,000-pound bombs, on Natanz, on Fordo, and we launched Minuteman missiles at those sites in Esfahan as well. And then we called an end to the war. Now, as I said, after that conflict, do you really believe that that war only lasted 12 days? Of course not. The war with Iran has been going on for 15 years, maybe longer, depending on where you want to draw the lines. The war with Iran has been going on for decades. And many people said that was the beginning and the end. That the war with Iran started when Israel bombed them, and it ended when we bombed them. Well, it didn't start then, and it surely didn't end then either. That was only the climax at that point in time of an already ongoing conflict, of an already established pattern. As a matter of fact, the war between Israel and Iran had been crescendoing. It had always been escalating. Again, going back even further, going back to the assassination of Qasem Soleimani in 2020, going back to Israel's cyber attacks and industrial sabotage and assassinations in 2021 and 2022, October 7th, and the provocations against Iran in 2024, and then the bombing in 25. That was only the latest and greatest operation. And so if you were to solve for X, if you're to finish the equation, well, what's going to happen after Midnight Hammer? Is that just the end of the war? Iran is going to give up their ambitions for a deterrent capability? Is Israel going to give up their quest for regime change? Or are we going to get the same pattern, which is that Israel will provoke Iran, they will trigger a conflict, it will force the United States to intervene, and that pattern will keep playing out until the Iranian regime is defeated. Well, that's how I predicted that we would be back here, because that has been the pattern up until now, and that is apparently exactly what happened. Israel came to the United States in December 2025. This was Netanyahu's 5th visit to the White House, okay, to the United States. He came in February 25, April 25, July 25, September 25, and then Netanyahu returned just before New Year's in 2025. He came to Mar-a-Lago. And what he asked for from Trump was another war with Iran, echoing that meeting in February of last year. Netanyahu came to Mar-a-Lago and said, well, we've taken out their nuclear program. Now we need to take out their missiles, because they're building 300 missiles every month, and they're all pointed at us. And Trump didn't make a firm commitment. Trump said, well, if they build their nuclear, we'll surely attack them. If they rebuild their missiles, we'll consider it. That wasn't good enough. So, what happened? Well, Netanyahu came back. And Netanyahu came back to the White House again in February, this month, February 2026. Then Netanyahu informed the president that Israel would go to war. Israel was going to launch a war before the Jewish holiday of Purim to celebrate the Jews' victory over the Amalekites, over their enemies. And that it was really just a question of whether we're in or we're out. And again, this was going to be, whether they did it alone or we did it the way we did it, it would have been the same outcome. Israel basically told the U.S., we're going to rerun the playbook from last year. We're going to bomb Iran. Well, again, if they bombed Iran without us on Friday, Iran would have launched its missiles at our bases. In Erbil, in Iraq, at Al Udeid in Qatar, in the Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, all over the region. And if Israel hit Iran and then Iran counterattacked us, we probably would not be able to intercept all the missiles, and so many Americans would die. So again, they did something that triggered us to go in. And now we're in. And it begs the question, why is it that Israel is able to do this? They have orchestrated all of this. They have orchestrated every aspect of this from the beginning. They orchestrated the elimination of the Iranian nuclear deal in 2018. They orchestrated the Al-Aqsa flood on 2023. They orchestrated the attack in 2025, and they orchestrated this. Again, they control the timeline. They control the tempo. They control the ladder of escalation. And what role does the United States play in this? What we are told about the relationship between the U.S. and Israel is that they are our ally, and that we are their patron, and they are our client. We furnish them with $3.8 billion per year in military aid. Last year, the Congress authorized $26 billion. Forgive me, that was in 2024 in the spring. $25 billion in additional U.S. military aid for Israel. We furnish them with F-35s. We tolerate their nuclear program. We protect them in the international community from condemnation in the Security Council, from sanctions from European countries. And yet they seem to be able to act alone. Think about how warped this dynamic is. Netanyahu comes here and tells us how it's going to be. He comes here over and over. Well, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Who's we? You're our bitch. You take money from us. Like, we should own you. You wouldn't exist without us. You would have never existed in the first place. You could have never declared independence. There would have been no Zionist movement without American Jewry, without America's weapons. You'd have no nuclear arsenal. You wouldn't have won your war against the Arabs. You would have never won any of your wars for that matter. Your adversaries would still be standing. And they come to the White House and tell our president, hey, this is the way it's going to be. We're going in with you or without you. With you or without you. Who's the boss here? Who's in control of this relationship? Who is the superpower? Trump or Netanyahu? And, of course, we all know that Israel is the boss. Israel controls our country. Now you know it for a fact. Because what is a bigger decision? Do you know the actual definition of sovereignty? So, what it means to be sovereign is to have the authority to control what happens in your borders. That's what sovereignty is. The king is the sovereign of the United Kingdom because he, at the end of the day, gets to control what happens inside the country. Sovereignty comes from the Peace of Westphalia, when the German princes are able to decide whether they're going to be Protestant or Catholic. Hey, you're the prince, it's your decision for your realm. That's the idea. Now, in political science, we say that the essence of sovereignty, according to Carl Schmitt, is the ability for the government to tell its citizens to kill and be killed. That is actually effectively what sovereignty means. And theoretically, definitionally, sovereignty means you control what happens in your borders. But what it means to be sovereign is you can command your subjects or your citizens to kill and be killed, to go to war. That's what politics is. We are going to raise an army, we are going to get a bunch of guns, and you're going to go and fight those people, and you're going to have to kill them, and you might have to be killed for the sake of us, for the sake of our political entity. That's what sovereignty is. So if Netanyahu can come to the White House and say, you're going to die for us, these are the terms under which you're going to kill and be killed. We're attacking Iran, and if we do, your soldiers are going to die. So if you don't want them to die, then you're going to have to kill Iranians, and some combat troops will be killed too, to prevent that from happening. Again, if they have the authority to tell us what to do for those matters, then that means they're our boss. What are the real decisions that a government makes other than when to go to war and when to make peace? Other than the government's ability to tell its volunteer army, you're going to die. Like Trump said on Friday, soldiers are going to die. Okay, but who are they dying for? Who's telling them to die? For what? Whose decision is that? Is it the president elected by the people of the United States of America? Is it the chief executive of our constitutional representative democratic government? Or is it the prime minister of Israel? And what gives him the ability or the right or the authority to do that? Well, obviously, Netanyahu's authority proceeds from the fact that our country is run by organized Jewry. Jews have all the power in America. They are the gatekeepers. They are the middlemen. They have so much financial leverage, so much political leverage that they cannot be opposed. Look at the media entity that was just created. Skydance, Paramount, Warner Brothers, TikTok. Larry Ellison, friend of Netanyahu, controls all of that. Let's say you want to be an actor in the entertainment industry, you offend the Jews. Well, Larry Ellison owns the largest media conglomerate in America. So if he blacklists you and says, hey, we're not going to work with that guy, and we're going to cut contracts with anybody that does, you can't work. They control it. And the same is true of finance. Who runs BlackRock? Larry Fink, a Jewish Zionist. Bill Ackman, who runs his own financial fund, he goes to Larry Fink after the protests from October 7th and says, we need to blacklist every student who protested against Israel in finance. And Larry Fink, running BlackRock, says, okay, BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. Trillions of dollars in assets under management. If Larry Fink says you can't work in finance, you can't work in finance. They don't need to run all of it. They don't need to run every financial firm, every media firm. They need to own enough of it and be willing to use it. Same thing with the ADL. Does anybody want the ADL breathing down their neck, canceling their Adidas contract, their Gap contract, getting their money frozen? Of course not. It's all like this. And so people have said, well, the reason President Trump couldn't refuse is because he knows they would kill him. That's what Tucker Carlson said today. He said, you can't say no to Israel because the last president that did is JFK. And he's referring to the fact that in 1963, John F. Kennedy, the U.S. president, was in a dispute with Ben-Gurion, the president of Israel, the prime minister of Israel. And at that time, Israel was producing a nuclear weapon, very similar to Iran. And JFK, his policy was non-proliferation, inherited from Eisenhower. Eisenhower, in fact, told JFK about this during the presidential transition in 1961. He said, you gotta watch the Israelis. And so JFK wanted inspectors. He wanted the IAEA and the United States to inspect Israel's nuclear facilities to determine that they were not making a nuclear weapon. And JFK's demands kept growing stronger until eventually JFK told Ben-Gurion, look, if you don't do what we say, you're cut off. JFK sent him a letter in June of 1963 and said, if you don't give us inspections twice a year, and we get to see all of your facilities, then we're cutting you off from foreign aid completely, and we'll back the Arabs. Ben-Gurion resigned the day after he got that letter, and 5 months later, on November 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated. Lyndon B. Johnson is elected, and under his presidency, Israel went nuclear. About a year later, Israel got a nuclear bomb, successfully tested a nuclear device. And not only that, but U.S. foreign aid to Israel, not only did it increase threefold, but the composition of it changed also. Whereas foreign aid to Israel from 1948 to 1964 was mostly economic and humanitarian aid, after Lyndon Johnson became president, it's almost all military aid, almost all of it. And they start getting the most advanced U.S. equipment, tanks, guns, you name it. So, the implication is a U.S. president can't say no to Israel because they control our system and they have penetrated our country so thoroughly they will literally kill you. In the same way that we were able to kidnap Maduro and we were able to assassinate the Ayatollah, Israel could simply take out the top of the United States. And you know what? Here's the problem with that line of thinking. The whole point of electing Trump is that he was going to be brave enough to say no. Isn't that the fight? Isn't that what it is to be America first? Is to stare death in the face and say no, America first or death? Is that not what George Washington did when he crossed the Delaware? Was say America first or death? We would rather live free as Americans than, or we'd rather die freely as Americans than lived as subjects, as colonies in the British Empire? That's what it is to be American. Is that not what Davy Crockett did at the Alamo? Is that not what the Texans did when they made their stand? That's who we are. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what it is to be an American. It is to be independent. It is to be free. It is to die on our feet, not live on our knees. That is why we elected Trump, to be a leader that would look at all the foreign special interests, to look at Israel in their face, at their hook nose, to look at India, to look at the multinational corporations, to look at the transhumanists in big tech, and to tell them, no, I'm the boss. I'm America. We're putting America first. That's why you're the president. So I'm sorry. That's not an excuse. When they say, well, they'll kill Trump, they'll kill his family, Vance knows they'll kill him, they'll kill his family, well, that's what you signed up for. Let him do it. Let him do it. Go to the American people and say, this is happening. And if I die, you know who's responsible. This is a country of 350 million people. All it would take is one act of bravery from a real leader, from a martyr. And people would lose their fear and probably rise up. Could Israel fight 90 million Iranians and 300 million Americans and 500 million Europeans? I don't think so. But that is where Trump has failed us. Trump is not able to tell them no. And this is why we are now at war. This is now why real courageous Americans are giving their lives. Think about that. Well, Trump can't say no because, the Israelis might kill him. So send all those disposable people to die for Israel. Send all those disposable little people, all those soldiers, they can go and die in Iran. How ridiculous. You're a U.S. soldier stationed in Kuwait. You've been hit by a ballistic missile from Iran. You are dead. The real best and greatest and the most valiant among us, they are dying in a war of choice, a war of aggression for Israel because Trump is afraid or stupid, because Vance is afraid or calculating. So those Americans will die, just as thousands of Americans died in Syria and Iraq and Yemen and everywhere else. Those are the ones who will die. This is where Trump has failed us. That's your job. America first implies the existence of America last. Well, who's being put before America? Now you know. Now you know. America wanted a peace agreement. America wanted to make a deal with Iran. And we had one, and we did. Israel wanted war. Israel wanted a war at any cost because they want to destroy Iran. Why? Not because Iran poses some existential threat. How could they? Israel has 300 nuclear warheads. How could Iran possibly pose an existential threat? Israel has Jericho missiles. They have nuclear submarines. If Iran launched any kind of attack on Israel, they talk about Iran as this apocalyptic nation. Israel could nuke them. Iran did not have nuclear weapons. They weren't building them. And if they weren't, they were all destroyed in Midnight Hammer. So Iran was not an existential threat to Israel. Why, then, did Israel want regime change? It's the same reason they want regime change everywhere else, in Iraq, Syria, Libya, Egypt, Turkey, next. They want regime change, and they've spelled it out in their documents for one simple reason. They want to dominate the Middle East. They laid it out in Oded Yanoun's 1980s grand strategy for Israel. They said, we want to topple all of the powerful Arab and Islamist dictators. This actually precedes the Iranian Revolution, actually. They said, we want to topple all the dictators. We want to dismember all the states, fracture them along ethnic and sectarian lines. We're going to take Syria and divide it up three ways. Alawites, Druze, Sunnis. Take Iraq, divide it up three ways. Kurds, Sunnis, Shiites. Take Egypt, divide it up a few ways. Coptic Christians, Arabs, Bedouins. Take Lebanon, divide it up 5 ways. This is what they laid out 50 years ago. They said the era of land for peace is over. We're not giving up more land for peace with our neighbors. We're aggressively going to confront them. We're going to exploit their weaknesses, which is their diversity. We're going to obviously infiltrate the United States and use them as the instrument to do it. And we will create, as they said, a mosaic of tribes with flags. We will basically disintegrate all the states into fiefdoms that can never challenge Israel. Tiny statelets that can never create a powerful military, that will always be dependent for energy or for access to the sea or other things. They'll never unify. They'll never oppose. And they laid it out again in the Clean Break Report in 96. It's all the same people in the Bush White House. They said the same thing. In the Clean Break Report, they said, we've got a problem on our northern border. Hezbollah and all of these exiled Palestinians from the old days are gathered there. They're being supplied by Iran through Syria. Syria, like Iraq, is a Ba'athist state. Iraq has all these missiles pointed at us. So Israel said we need to take out Iraq, then Syria, then Iran. And then we can secure our northern border. And then you can push up and down and east. That's the whole idea. It's so that Israel can take more territory. They can become energy independent. They can take the Sinai, control that choke point at the Suez. They can move north and they can control up to the Litani River to protect themselves there. They're going to move up into Damascus in the suburbs, and maybe cross the Jordan River, or at least take the West Bank right up to the Jordan River, and then they can dominate the entire region. As we've been talking about with nuclear weapons, their qualitative military edge, that has been the plan from the beginning. And that's what this war is about. That's why they decided to go, and now we're fighting for them. We're fighting for them to achieve these ambitions. Americans are dying for a greater Israel. Americans are dying so that Israel can be a superpower, so that their empire can be born. You are dying for it. You're paying for it. You're voting for it. So, by the way, when all this started under George W. Bush, you know who wrote the speeches for George W. Bush? David Frum. David Frum, he's the Jewish speechwriter, the neocon that invented the term axis of evil. When George W. Bush said that there's an axis of evil, it's Iraq, Iran, and North Korea, do you know who wrote that phrase? David Frum. Do you know who J.D. Vance's first mentor was in the mid-2010s? David Frum. J.D. Vance wrote for David Frum's website. David Frum wrote a tell-all for The Atlantic years ago saying that he would tell J.D. Vance, one day you're going to become president. David Frum said this to Vance as he groomed him. You're going to be president. You're going to be a common sense Republican. You're going to deliver the young people to the GOP by being a moderate. Go figure. After Trump won the election in 2016, J.D. Vance convened a meeting in January 2017, and David Frum was in attendance. And they started to prepare a J.D. Vance for president campaign for the late 2020s. This was in 2017. Google it. It's in The Atlantic. David Frum, tell all about J.D. Vance. Well, what is J.D. Vance's position on this war of choice? His old mentor, David Frum, cheering on from the sidelines, wrote Axis of Evil 25 years ago, arguably creating that justification for a war way ahead of schedule. Well, according to the New York Times, J.D. Vance was all in favor of this war. The New York Times did a big piece, you should read it, about how the decision was made to go to war. And it says that when the administration was faced with this decision, do we join Israel or not, nobody opposed U.S. entrance into the war. Nobody. And as a matter of fact, J.D. Vance was pushing for a harder response to Iran. This is from the New York Times. It says, quote, Vice President J.D. Vance, a longtime skeptic of American military interventions in the Middle East, argued in a White House Situation Room meeting that if the United States was going to hit Iran, it should go big and go fast. J.D. Vance said we should go to war. This is not the first time this has been reported. It's been reported for the past 2 weeks that Vance was in favor of U.S. intervention against Iran. This is only the latest. Vance was encouraging Trump to go to war. The only person that was discouraging it was Tucker Carlson, to his credit. And I have my beef with him, but to his credit, as far as we know, Tucker Carlson is the only one who went to the White House on February 23rd and tried to discourage President Trump from taking us to war. And for that, whatever Tucker is, CIA, foreign operative, whatever, we owe him gratitude because he tried. And for whatever reason, who knows what he really is, we should be somewhat grateful. We have to give him the credit he deserves for that. He was the only one. But more to the point, J.D. Vance was pushing us to go to war. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, well, that is a planted story by the New York Times. I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene on Twitter. She said, oh, they must really not like Vance. Who's they? She goes, oh, the media must not like Vance. That's why they're trying to pin the war on him. So a lot of people are treating this like it's a fluke. Oh, that's not real. Vance didn't want the war. Well, you want to know how we know it's true? J.D. Vance said the exact same thing in July of 2024. You want to know when he said it and where he said it? Well, a week after Donald Trump was shot in the ear, and Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel called Donald Trump and encouraged him to select J.D. Vance as his nominee, the RNC was held. And it was at the RNC where Trump announced that J.D. Vance would be his running mate, that J.D. Vance conducted his first interview as the VP nominee with Sean Hannity. His first interview at the Republican National Convention, the nominating convention in July of 2024, in his first interview, J.D. Vance sat with Sean Hannity and he said, we have to hit Iran hard. We have to punch them hard. You can't do these small strikes like Biden is doing. You have to punch them in the face. You have to hit them hard. He actually volunteered that. Sean Hannity didn't ask him about Iran. He asked him about foreign policy in general. And Vance said, well, for example, if you go against Iran, you got to punch them hard. So this has been his position. We know he was saying that in the White House because this was his policy when he became the VP nominee. And there's another instance. Several months before that, he went to the Quincy Institute. I'm sure you've heard me speak on this. An anti-war nonprofit. They push the foreign policy, which is called Restraint. Name of a book by Barry Posen. And they push foreign policy restraint using American power, but in a restrained way. J.D. Vance went to this conference, and according to the Jewish Post, he put a pro-Israel spin on America First, according to Jewish Insider. And during the speech, J.D. Vance said, we have to arm Israel so they can bomb Iran. He said, we treasure Israel as an ally, we work on them with missile defense, and they are the Holy Land, and we should give them what they need to bomb Iran. He went to an anti-war think tank and told them we need to bomb Iran for Israel. Okay? That's who J.D. Vance is. That was in the spring of 24. He gave that interview in July at the RNC in 24. And this week, he encouraged Trump to go max on Iran, to go all the way. Now consider, people are saying that Vance is normally anti-war. Where exactly does J.D. Vance come from? Well, like I said, he was groomed, and he was the protege of David Frum, who is a Jewish neocon, former speechwriter for George W. Bush. And if you read that article, it is very suspicious. Because somehow David Frum knew in the 2010s that J.D. Vance would be the president in the late 2020s. And how did David Frum know that? How did he get this feeling when J.D. Vance was just some former law student? Well, he said he got that feeling because of Vance's biographical credibility, because of his book. His book, Hillbilly Elegy, which talks about how he's from the disaffected white working class. And effectively, David Frum said he believes Vance will become the Republican president because Vance is going to be able to trick all the stupid white people. Vance has this story. He's got the biographical credibility. He can go to the enraged middle American radicals, the white working class, and he can say, hey, everybody, I'm just like you. I came from the Rust Belt. I came from Ohio. My meemaw's a drug addict or whatever. My mom's a drug addict. My meemaw helped me out. And he's going to get all the white people back on the plantation if the Republicans lost them. That's how David Frum knew. It gets better. In 2016, when Donald Trump launched the anti-war America First movement, Trump said, as we talked about earlier in the show, that the war in Iraq was a mistake, that there were no weapons of mass destruction, that George Bush knew there weren't weapons of mass destruction. He let 9/11 happen on his watch. Trump was saying all these things. Trump repudiated David Frum's legacy, the Republican Party legacy, repudiated the Bush dynasty, destroyed Jeb Bush, single-handedly made support for Iraq actually a non-starter in the Republican primary. And it wasn't before that. It wasn't. Most of those candidates were pro-Iraq war right up until Donald Trump said we weren't going to be that way anymore. Where was J.D. Vance when that movement was born? when the MAGA America First movement was born, when Trump came down the escalator and said we should have never been in Iraq, we don't even have it, we don't have the oil, you can't even go there. They knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. When he came down and said all that, and he created this movement and inspired everybody, where was Vance? Well, Vance was a never Trumper. Do you know who J.D. Vance did vote for in 2016? Take a guess. He didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. He didn't vote for Donald Trump. He voted for Evan McMullin. Who's Evan McMullin? Nobody knows. Evan McMullin is a former CIA officer. He was handpicked by Bill Kristol from the Weekly Standard to run as a spoiler candidate against Trump. So all the neocons like Ben Shapiro and Bill Kristol and others, Rupert Murdoch, they did not want Trump to win. So how were they going to prevent him from winning? Well, they were going to get a spoiler candidate to run as an independent in a state like Utah. That's where Evan McMullin is from. And they thought that if they could take enough votes away from Trump in a state like Utah, Hillary would win that state, and she would get a few of those electoral votes, and she might win it in a pinch. That was the playbook by the neocons. That was the playbook by the pro-war crowd, by Shapiro, by Bill Kristol. Bill Kristol was the architect of this. First, he had David French run from National Review, and he chickened out because he's a wimp. And then they put in place the CIA officer, Evan McMullin. And that's who J.D. Vance voted for. Bill Kristol, for those that don't know, is one of the architects of the Iraq War. Writing for the Weekly Standard, which is one of the big intellectual magazines of the 90s and 2000s, Bill Kristol was pushing the strongest for the war in Iraq. He's part of that same generation as David Frum. And his father, Irving Kristol, is the godfather of neoconservatism. That's who J.D. Vance voted for. That guy's handpicked candidate. Okay? Now people are surprised that J.D. Vance pushed for a war in Iran. Really? The guy that was mentored by David Frum, the guy that voted for Bill Kristol's spoiler, Evan McMullin, the guy that told us at an anti-war think tank that we need to go to war with Iran, in his first interview as the VP nominee said, we got to bomb Iran really hard. Now people deny? They're surprised that J.D. Vance was in favor of a war with Iran now? Why? You shouldn't be surprised. That's who J.D. Vance is. J.D. Vance is not a real anything. He is whatever they need him to be. He is what Elon Musk needs him to be. He is what Rupert Murdoch needs him to be. He is what Miriam Adelson needs him to be. Is anybody surprised that a never-Trumper that was calling Trump a Nazi, that was grateful for Obama? Is anybody surprised that this guy is now in favor of a war with Iran? Wait a second, you're telling me he never had an ideological epiphany? I thought that when he was ready to run for Senate and he needed Trump's endorsement, that coincidentally he got based and red-pilled. You know, he was a never-Trumper. He did vote for Evan McMullin. He did call Trump a racist Nazi. He did say Trump was an idiot. He said that white people only hate Obama because they're jealous that a black man is smarter than them. But, you know, magically in 2022, he just had this epiphany. He got based and red-pilled. Oh, yeah, and also he needed Trump to endorse him to win that Senate seat in Ohio. But, you know, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm sure that timing was just really serendipitous for him. He got lucky that he became Trump's #1 cheerleader right when he needed his endorsement to win that three-way primary and then get a Senate seat, which would then propel him into the vice presidency and now the presumptive nominee for president in 28. Yeah, that wasn't orchestrated and manufactured for 15 years by the CIA and the Israel lobby. No, that's the story of how a white guy that's just like us realized, you know, learned to stop. What's the movie? Stop being America First. Yeah, no, it's just a great big coincidence, isn't it? I'm shocked and surprised that he's actually not a diehard America Firster and that he wasn't telling the president to restrain Israel. And you know what this says, by the way? As I said on Friday, we are sentenced to this forever if you don't make a change. And by that I mean you can't vote for these people in 28. Sorry, this is disqualifying. You do understand that Vance's career has to be finished after this, right? Because if it isn't, then we are all slaves. Okay? Then we are all slaves to Israel. If you vote for J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio after they killed Americans for Israel, they didn't oppose this. They could have. They could have said, Mr. President, let's not bomb Iran. Let's restrain Israel instead.
How can I help?
They didn't do that.
No problem.
They
I'll
have
get 'em off
power.
your back.
Vance got votes. Rubio's the Secretary of State. Where are they on this one? Where are they? Well, they're actually pushing for the war. You can't vote for these people. Because these are the times for choosing that determine the character of a leader. Okay, and we've seen Trump fail, and now we've seen these people fail. Now we have the information we need. It was a time for choosing when COVID appeared, and we had a decision whether to lock down the country. Trump could have chosen not to lock down the country. Other countries chose not to. Trump didn't. That was a time for choosing. That's the moment when the world is falling apart, and you need a leader that's going to say, look, we're not shutting down. He did. BLM was another one. The rioters took over the cities. They looted, they vandalized, they torched. Trump didn't lift a finger to stop it. Sean Hannity told them it would play better in the election if people saw Democrats and black people wrecking all the cities. So Trump stood down. That's another time for choosing. So is this. If you're in favor of this debacle, this catastrophe, yeah, I'm not voting for you. And think about, if you are a voter, what would be disqualifying for you? Someone takes us to war in Iran. That's not disqualifying. So what would they actually have to do to lose your vote? Exactly. I understand if Midnight Hammer wasn't disqualifying. I get that one, actually. Sort of. If you didn't really see where that was going to go, if you didn't really understand the trajectory, maybe. Killing Qasem Soleimani, maybe. We're in a regime change war with Iran. This is like number one on Israel's wish list. It's been for 20 years. Everyone knows that. The last thing that we need, if Trump, Vance, and Rubio take us to war and you vote for them again in 26 and 28, is there any limit to what you will tolerate? Is there any limit? And what is it? We had 230,000 deportations. We don't have a border wall. They just left Minneapolis. They won't even ban the food dye. They won't even ban the Red 40. Okay? This is what they will not do. What they will do, so funny. Oh, well, we can't deport people from Minneapolis. That's killing our approval ratings. Oh, ground troops in Iran? I don't give a shit about approval ratings. We'll do whatever's necessary for Israel. And I still see people on the Trump side making excuses. They say, well, it's a four-dimensional play. This is about China. I assure you, this has nothing to do with China. You want to know why? We're pulling THAAD systems from South Korea to put them in the Middle East. We pulled an aircraft carrier from the Sea of Japan to put it in the Persian Gulf. That's why you know it has nothing to do with China. Give me a break. This has everything to do with Israel. I see people saying, well, I voted for Trump, so I trust him. Trump said no new wars, peace president, golden age. How did this whole thing start? He said we oppose the war in Iraq. You know that war for Israel sold to us under the false pretense they had nuclear weapons when they didn't? Yeah, so he lost his mandate when he betrayed his promise. Now you don't need to support him anymore. What at this point is the excuse? And people are getting ready now to vote for Vance and making excuses for him already. This has to be the breaking point. This is the breaking point for the GOP coalition. You buried the Epstein files. There is no border wall. You didn't deliver on mass deportations. You cut corporate tax rates for the rich by cutting Medicaid again. No infrastructure bill. No middle-class tax cuts. You got to refund the tariffs. And now we're in a regime change war with Iran. That's the breaking point. I'm out. I'm done. I am off the Trump train. I am not voting in 26. If Rubio or Vance are on the ticket in any form in 28, I'm voting for a Democrat. Say whatever you want. Do your worst. Hey, Carpe Dom and Cat Turd and all you fucking idiots. Cat Turd is, Carpe Dom's a friend of mine actually, but all of these plan trusters, Trump supporters, worshipers, Republicans, say whatever you want. You are a fucking cuck. You are a bitch. You are voting for a party that is raping you. You are voting for a candidate that is screwing you. They break every promise. They lie to your face. They betray you. And our lives aren't getting any better. How does a regime change war with Iran make us safer? How does that make our lives better? You can't deport the Somalis from Minneapolis, but you can go to war with a 1 million-man army in Iran? Give me a break. Say whatever you want. People say, but the Democrats do all these other things. I don't give a shit. Maybe if a Democrat were in office, we wouldn't go to war with Iran. Joe Biden kept us out of war with Iran. We didn't have a war with Iran under Joe Biden. And some people say, well, you would have gotten it anyway. Okay, so then voting doesn't matter. Is that what you're telling me? People tell me, well, it doesn't matter. Whether we vote for the Democrat or the Republican, we get the same thing. Okay, so then what does it even matter? If we're going to get a war with Iran all the same, if we're going to get H-1Bs and foreign students all the same, then why is this the most important election of our lifetimes? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't at once tell us we got to be good little plan trusters. Don't be a panicking. Everybody's got to vote. Stay in line. The golden age is imminent. And then tell us, well, it really doesn't matter. Trump can't stop a war in Iran. He can't stop mass migration. He can't stop anything. The best we can hope for is, we'll be a little bit better than the most progressive Democrat in history. They say, well, he's better than Kamala Harris. Do you mean the most progressive Democrat in history? He's better than the mixed race woman with a Jewish husband and that freak show family who wants to abolish the police and let in 10 million illegals and is in favor of... Oh, he's marginally better than her. Oh, great. That's what the MAGA movement was all about, right? Trump came down the escalator and said, we're going to be marginally better than the worst Democrats ever, right? That was the battle cry. Yeah, that must be a false memory. When Trump said, it's time to deliver a real victory for the American people, I will fight for you, I'll win for you, for every child that dreams, every parent that dreams for their child, I must have that's in my imagination. He came down the escalator and said, well, we're not going to import 10 million illegals. We're going to have net negative migration, kind of. So I'm out. This is the plan. The GOP must burn in 2026. Shut it down. Yeah. It's called playing both sides. Not just for the Jews, folks. Playing both sides, it ain't just for the Jews anymore. Now it's the Goyim's turn. Okay? Now it's our turn to play both sides. People say, but the Democrats. Me, my options are open. I'm a free agent. I'm independent. The GOP doesn't own me. Trump doesn't own me. If they don't do what I want them to do, if they betray me, I'm going with the other side. I'm walking away from the table. It ain't just for Jews anymore. We can play both sides too. You want to see that? Let's have white men play both sides. I'm going to hold my nose and vote for a Democrat. How about them apples? I'm done holding my nose voting for Republicans. I just get shit on. They say, but the Democrats do all these other things. I know. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm going to hold my nose and vote for them anyway. At least we won't go to war with Iran. Marginally better, right? Fuck them. Fuck these people. Fuck Trump, Vance, Rubio. War with Iran? Are you kidding me? What is MAGA even about then? What is even the claim of America first? We're in a war with Iran. Wake up. 10 years. People would have said, that's the neocons. Now they're supporting it. You have been brainwashed. You are not immune from propaganda. I'm the same now as someone posted a clip from my show in 2017. I said, we got to keep our foot on the gas. We can't go into a war with Iran. I didn't leave MAGA. MAGA left me. All these people calling me a panicking. You betrayed the president. No, they betrayed me. I got on board for the other Trump. I got on board when Trump said Rubio was a puppet of Rubio's a puppet of Sheldon Adelson. That's when I got on board. I got on board when Trump was against regime change. In Syria, much less Iran. What happened to you? What happened to all these other people? It became about something else. So I'm done. That's J.D. Vance. That's the administration. We're out of time here. So we're going to move on into the Super Chats. We're going to talk a little bit more tomorrow about the actual war fighting. I apologize, but we're like 90 minutes into, almost 2 hours into the show, and we haven't even gotten there. So I'll save the rest for tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, 9:30 Central, starting the show earlier this week because people want to watch, because everyone's excited now, and I'm, delivering the best analysis, obviously, recognized. Tomorrow, 9:30 Central, we're going to be talking about the actual state of the conflict. Trump has no plan here. Okay, they're calling it regime change. Now they're saying it isn't regime change. They're saying boots on the ground. Do they mean it? Iran is hitting all the Gulf countries with missiles, hitting their airports, hitting their hotels, in a bid to get the Gulf countries to pressure Washington to stop. Will this become a war of attrition? We'll do the math. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. Okay, that'll be tomorrow at 9:30 Central. And we'll call it part 2 of tonight. Okay? But for now, we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at the Super Chats. We'll see what you guys have to say. This is the best place for your coverage of the war in Iran. Why? Because I predicted it. Okay? And by the way, I'm the only one that understands this. Because even the other people, like Candace Owens, you know what? God bless her. Candace Owens is out there. She's against the war. I appreciate that. Somebody clip this. It really is a positive that Candace Owens is against the war in Iran. She's got an unbelievable audience. It's massive. It's a lot of women. Good for her. However, and I will say this, she's saying it's the Khazarian Mafia. It's not. It's not the Khazarian Mafia. It's the Jews. That's why you have to do... No one else is saying it like this. Candace says it's the Khazarian Mafia. It's these nomadic Turkic tribesmen from the 8th century that moved into medieval Europe and started LARPing as Jews. It's Jews. They're doing it on the Jewish holiday of Purim. It's against the Persians. They're mortal enemies. They're calling them the Amalekites. It's straight out of the Old Testament. It's right out of the Old Testament. Okay? I saw Professor Jang, who's on Sneeko. He says it's the Khazarians, it's the Freemasons. He went a little crazy. I like the guy. He's a little out there. He's talking about eschatology. He won't say it's the Jews either. Tucker Carlson says it's got nothing to do with Judaism. Really? This Jewish war of aggression by the Jewish state for Greater Israel on the Jewish holiday of Purim against the Jewish enemy, the Amalekites, has nothing to do with Judaism? I guess, bro. Okay? I guess. I don't think so, little bro. I don't think so. He goes, it's Netanyahu. Bro, it's not Netanyahu. Netanyahu's opposition. Do you know, just real quick, for anyone that would say it's Netanyahu, do you know that Netanyahu's opposition in the Knesset, the leader of the opposition party, wrote an op-ed in the New York Times late last year, and he literally said, in the front page, said, it's not just Netanyahu, it's all of us. I'm not making this up. Okay? I believe it was either Yair Lapid or Benny Gantz, the leader of the Israeli opposition, okay, the guy that's running the party against Netanyahu, took out an op-ed in the New York Times and said, don't blame this on Netanyahu. He said this is the bipartisan security consensus of all of Israel, and most people support this here. So, that's not me. When I say it's the Jews, it's Israel, that's me quoting them. I'm not really saying that, I'm quoting them. That is what they claim. So if you're out there saying it's just Netanyahu, he's the problem, it's not even Israel, it's not even the Jews, look at the polling. 70% of Israelis supported Israel bombing Iran. Okay? The vast majority of Israelis support this war. And there is a wartime cabinet, the opposition was included, they're on board with this whole plan. They've been on board with it. All of the vital members of the Knesset are on board with this and support it. So the idea that there is some, significant pushback, it's not demonstrable of the entire Jewish community, or I should say representative of the whole Jewish community. Where are they getting this stuff? That's just rhetoric. They would like that to be the case, but it isn't. This is the only show that will talk about the Jewishness of all this, from where all this comes. Everybody's either lying or they're afraid, or they're just misinformed. Not the Khazarians, not the Masons. It's not just Netanyahu, contrary to Tucker, Candace, Jang, all these other people. Only this show is going to tell you the power matrix that has brought us to this war. It makes me fear for my life. When you see what the Israelis have done in Beirut, what they've done to Hezbollah in Lebanon, when you see what they've done to Iran, it's a little bit terrifying. That's what it is. So anyway, that's that. All right, we're going to move on. We'll take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say. Yeah, for all those people that said I sold out, these rumors of my fall off have been widely exaggerated. Yes, did I support what happened in Venezuela? Yes. That is our hemisphere. Okay? Do I support a pro-Western government in Venezuela and Cuba? Absolutely. That's our clay. That's our turf, man. Do I think Israel killed their number one cheerleader, Charlie Kirk? Absolutely not. People say Charlie Kirk died because of this. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Charlie did not die for opposing the war in Iran. Google his tweets. Go on Twitter and search his tweets from June of 2025. When the U.S. bombed Iran last year, Charlie was out there defending it. Let's just be honest. When Israel was bombing Iran and we were getting involved, Charlie said, just turn your phone off and just stop paying attention to politics. He literally said that. I'm not making that up. Now, privately, he was lobbying the president and saying, I don't think it's such a good idea. But publicly, he's defending it. He was telling everybody, you know what, we have to trust our president. When Trump went on True Social last year and said, I want regime change in Iran, Charlie Kirk defended it. He said, well, listen, guys, there's a big difference between a top-down regime change and an uprising that comes from the bottom up. He said, I totally support the latter. It's like, okay. When Trump buried the Epstein files, Charlie Kirk said, I just trust him. So, no. But people said I was compromised because I didn't believe that Israel took him out. He was on their team, bro. He was on their team. And if Israel's going to take out anybody, they would have taken out Tucker Carlson, probably. I guess they missed one. Tucker's in the White House telling Trump to stop. You think Charlie Kirk would have made a difference? He wouldn't have. So, anyway. Just have to throw that out there. Everybody, because I didn't buy into the kookery, look, this is real shit. Put away the talk about astral projecting and psychics and monsters. And this is real shit, okay? This is real stuff. This is war and peace. This is life and death. This is about the rise and fall of nations and empires. Time to get a little serious here, okay? And this is the Jews. So I'm not interested in all that other crap. I'm not interested in stuff that has no evidence. This is the real deal. That's why people watch the show. Okay, we're going to move on. We are going to read these super chats. Let's see what we got here. Let's take a look. It's going to be a lot of super chats tonight, I think, so I'm going to try to not spike my cortisol here. All right, let's see. You know what? Some of these are from Saturday. I got to sift through them a little bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is from today.
Randall from Recess sent $20. Sneeko saying Khamenei will receive the highest level of martyrdom in heaven was the most brown clown thing I have ever heard. Also, if Indiana gets the Bears, surely DeKalb can claim to be Chicago too. You can't say Gary is part of the city and then deny DeKalb. Literally half hour to midway.
Thank you for the big super chat. That's just insane. Yeah, okay, bro. And Madison, Wisconsin is Chicago. Well, yeah, okay. So if Gary is Chicago, then so is DeKalb. If DeKalb is Chicago, well, then so is Rockford. If Rockford, so is Milwaukee. Like, yeah, okay, but it's all Chicago then, I guess, right? You might as well live in Des Moines. You'd be claiming that's Chicago too, you stupid ass. Stupid ass, fake Chicagoan. Yeah, I don't know how it works in Islam. That's probably true. If Sneeko says that the Ayatollah is going to be at the highest level of heaven, he's going to be with 72 virgins. That was kind of funny. I'm not even going to lie. Roseanne Barr said, POV, you're a dead Iranian. You have your 72 virgins, and it's me. It's kind of funny, okay? That's a little bit funny. But yeah, I don't know how that works, so I'm not the expert on that one. It is ridiculous when they say, dude, how does anyone still take Scott Ritter seriously? Scott Ritter says the Ayatollah won. He wanted to die, and when we killed him, he trapped us. Okay, that's insane. Okay, like that's just totally... Do you even believe that? Seriously? When you kill your enemies, they win. Like that's really... That's just next level. So what happened to... A few days ago, they were saying if we go to war with Iran, they're going to blow up an aircraft carrier with a hypersonic missile. I guess they'll settle for their leader being assassinated instead. You know? It's like 2 weeks ago, Iran was posting hype videos. We're going to drop a hypersonic missile on an aircraft carrier, and we're going to rain missiles on all these bases. There's going to be hell to pay. But if we can't do that, I guess we'll settle for our leader being killed instead. That's our real super weapon. Do we have a nuclear bomb? No. Are we hitting any of your strategic assets? No. But our secret weapon, you're going to be able to assassinate our leader. And then the gloves are coming off. It's like, okay, so true promise, huh? That's sort of ironic. True promise. It's like, what, promise wasn't enough? No, this is a real promise. We really mean it. Okay, sure you do. So, yeah, that's just, like, way out there. How many of their leaders are we going to kill before? Well, we'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow, I guess. I just think that's fun. They're all buying into that. Yeah, no. Just like with Yahya Sinwar. When Yahya Sinwar is assassinated, everyone will raise up their sticks. Did that happen? I don't think so. The people of the world will rally. Raise up your sticks. It didn't happen, bro. Everyone forgot immediately. And then Hamas made a deal. You know, like Hamas capitulated. They're giving up their weapons as we speak. They gave up half their territory, and nobody did anything, okay? On the contrary, literally nobody did anything. No, it'll galvanize everybody. It's a meta-political victory. The look on Israel's face when they realize that we won all the meta-political victories is going to be delicious. In like 200 years, we will all be in the gulags or dead. It will be like an Israel-controlled AI, antichrist global government. You'll be sitting there with a shock collar, and you'll be saying, man, Israel's so fucked. They're going to collapse any day. Any day, Emperor Netanyahu V is going to fall. They have no idea what's coming. They just have no idea. Once they kill the 6 millionth goy, man, they have signed their death certificate for this regime. It's finished. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think so. So color me skeptical on that.
$100. Thanks for the show. I really enjoy your energy, no matter the topic. You're definitely the most entertaining part of my night.
Hey, thanks. Thank you for the big super chat. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to bring a little joy to the world, you know? I'm just trying to lift your spirits. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be a Rizless, unfuckable incel, gesturing for the masses. For who, really? For the world? I know what it's like. Alone again on a Saturday night. Pizza and Coke. Guess it doesn't get any better than this. But I do it for you. I do it for the masses. You know, I'm glad you like the show. Thank
Or
you.
Exploder said $100. On iPhone, open AmericaFirst.plus in Safari. Hit the 3 dots. Share. View more. Add to home screen. Now you have a YouTube/Rumble app way of watching the show. Website is great. Thank you for
There
all
you
the hard work.
go. Exactly. Thank you for the big super chat. Glad you like the website. You can also super chat on the new website. It's AmericaFirst.plus/super chat, and you can super chat the show. And we make a little bit more money that way. A little bit more money. The processing fee is like a slightly lower percent. So, hey, I'm just saying, I know you maybe have Entropy bookmarked or whatever, but we get a little bit more. We get to keep a little bit more of our shekels that way. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Side 689 said $150. I found this guy on YouTube who has an exhaustive list of Catholic commentary on the JQ I thought was worth sharing. Biblical commentary, church fathers, etc. All the way to Nostra. Here's the link.
I'll check that out. We have our own guy. His name is Social Commentary on Twitter. Thank you for the huge super chat. I'll check that out, though. Nice work.
Northern Cowboys at $250. 2026. Bombing the shit out of brown mongoloids circumambulating the Holy Cube during Ramadan.
Thank you for the huge super chat. Yeah, that's crazy. Listen, I don't support them being bombed. I don't. They don't deserve to die. I don't agree with them, and in many cases, they're very annoying. You know, the way they're all, with all these words, it's always like, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. It's like, okay, like, it's like a whole different version. It's like when you're at a Mexican restaurant and then they transform. Suddenly you're in Mexico City. You're with these people. You're hanging out with Sneeko. 1 second, he's doing his like New York accent, talking about Pop Smoke, and then it's like Bismillah. You're like, what the fuck? Okay, all right. I think it's time for me to go. I think my Uber is here. Nice hanging out with you. They start getting ready. So listen, that's annoying as fuck. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. They're always pushing their religion on you. They're always just like, it's like, okay. But they don't deserve to die for it. They don't deserve to be killed. Thank you for the huge super chat, though. I appreciate it. Pray for Iran. Pray for the Saudis.
Oswald Spengler sent $20 as interceptor munitions dwindle. If Iran strikes water desalination plants in the Gulf, the petrodollar is done for.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, sure thing. Any day now. If they attack the super secret, if they attack the MacGuffin, you guys are crazy. That's so... Here's how Iran can still win. It's always these, like, 5-dimensional chess things from, like, some Wall Street person. Well, if they hit the desalination plants, then it's over for the petrodollar. Yeah, okay, sure. Sure thing. Once they hit the server rooms that are hiding the Epstein files and Hunter's laptop, okay, yeah. There's always some theory that no one's ever heard of, right? Yeah, we just never heard of that. If they hit those desalination, yeah, and if they get all the Infinity Gems, then they can just reverse time and anticipate the attack. Once Iran gets the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, then it's really like, come on now, really? I think it's over, you know? No, they're gonna hit the desalination. Dude, Trump is gonna drop a tactical nuke on Iran before they do anything like that. Just stop. Just fucking stop with that. That's crazy.
Check Leader sent $50. You cannot ignore the threat of the Persian Zionist diaspora.
Oh,
they are waving Israel flags at rallies, lobbying like the two, attacking anti-war voices online, all while pushing girl boss feminism.
Yeah, we actually can, because they're not the reason. Dude, there's diasporas doing that all the time. There's Armenians that do this. There's Indians that do this. A lot of people do this sort of thing. Go to the White House any day of the week. There'll be some group out there with some flag you've never seen, like, you know, Slava Ukraine, and, you know, there'll be people from, like, Myanmar. Stop the Rohingya Muslims, or how to kill them all. I don't know. That's not what is driving this dumbass. We cannot ignore, yeah, we kind of can. You think it's all these Persian drug salesmen in LA that stop this? Huh? It's definitely not. It's the Jews.
$20. I can't control my Sneeko, and my Sneeko, he can't control me.
Okay.
White Monster Corver sent $50. There is no one more vindicated than you. God bless 07.
It's the curse of being extraordinarily gifted. Blessing and a curse. Wouldn't trade it, but such a curse at times, isn't it? Curse with knowledge. Like Tony Stark. True. 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 No, it is true. Imagine, like, people just forget that I'm the best at this. You know, everybody thinks it's just because I say the N-word. I said this the other night, but it's just true. People say, why is he so successful? Why does all these people like him? It's because I'm right about everything. They think it's like people are trying to psychoanalyze me. It's some psychological thing. It's because he says the N-word. It's because he's edgy. He just does this. It's because I'm the most gifted commentator alive. Period. End of story. Smartest, best, most talented. That's simple, okay? Untouchable. At this point, untouchable, legendary status. It's not deniable.
From 4D Chess Grandmasters Strategos sent $20. Streets are saying the Jews are using Brilliant Hollyhan as a pork sacrifice tonight. They've already swapped him out of the eye. That's why all of his lines sound like ChatGPT.
That's kind of funny.
Roy recurs.
He's looking rough, huh? Real chopped. Little chop head.
Steve sent $20. Have you ever listened to Billy streams?
No, I don't know what that
Laser
is.
I sent $50. Hi, Nick. First time chatter. Biggest excuse I've heard from Trumpers is that Iran wants the destruction of America, and if we don't go to war, then they will attack us with terrorism eventually. Thoughts?
Yeah, there's just no evidence for that. Iran has been around for 45 years. Have there ever been Iranian terrorist attacks on U.S. soil? So the Islamic Revolution was in 1979. That was, 47 years ago? Has there been even one Iranian terror attack on U.S. soil? Go ahead. Shout them out. Allegedly, they planned an embassy bombing in Washington, D.C. 20 years ago. Didn't happen. I believe, well, obviously they did the barracks bombings in 83, but that was in Lebanon. They have not done a single act of terrorism on our soil. Meanwhile, how many Saudi-backed Sunni terrorists have launched attacks on our soil? Al-Qaeda, ISIS, other groups. How many of them are Egyptian nationals, Saudi nationals, Iraqis, Afghans, whatever? Well, that's all of them. That's all of them. You know, Israel's done more terror attacks against the United States. Israel had foreknowledge of 9/11. Israel attacked the Liberty. So, you know, that's just not born. People say these things because they say, oh, well, Iran is Muslim, Muslims are terrorists. Well, Iran has been a Shia theocracy since 79, and they just don't do this, okay? All the Islamic terrorism in Europe and the United States comes from Wahhabist, fundamentalist, Salafist clerics that were sponsored by the Saudi state until recently. That's where it's coming from. So, that just isn't true. If that was going to happen, it would have happened. And people say they're this apocalyptic regime. They could have built a nuclear bomb. They have had the blueprints for decades, and they have had the know-how, and they have had the material. They could have done it. They could have done it if they pursued a weapon. And people say, well, they're going to use it against everybody. They wanted it for the same reason that Israel wants it, as a deterrent. They're rational actors. I've never seen evidence that they aren't.
Yuri Merlin sent $20. These people that think Iran war is just a distraction from the files are retarded. It's just what Israel has wanted forever.
Yeah, I get people in my DMs on Twitter. They say, don't get distracted. It's because of the files. Okay, like, I'm about to crash out when people say that. They have wanted a war with Iran for 45 years, you know? And people go, it's about the files. It's about the files. They're not releasing the files anyway, dumbass. Like, that's the biggest, like, schizo bait ever. No, dude, it's about Greater Israel. It's about Greater Israel. It's not about it's about the laptop. It's about Hunter's laptop. Totally insane.
Z95 sent $20. What's the Midget Sneaky's deal with appropriating your claims and prediction as his own?
I don't think he does that. I think he just likes to learn. Here's the thing about Sneako. He asks a lot of questions, and then he thinks about things. I really do. Even though I don't always agree with Sneako, he is a critical thinker. I don't always think he comes to the right conclusions, but he asks a ton of questions. If you notice anything about him, he's a great interviewer because he just asks a lot of questions. Always a lot of questions. And then he makes up his mind. So I don't think there's anything wrong with if he agrees with my point of view. I don't think he's appropriating it. We don't always agree. He's a Muslim, you know?
Will Stansel's Rowan Baralt sent $22. Patrick Casey and Captain Ray Victim are rent-free about you right now. They know they're on a sinking ship.
Honestly, cares about those people? They're ridiculous. They sold their souls. Here's your 30 pieces of silver, you fucking whore. How about Patrick Casey, huh? What a fucking loser. What a fucking loser. Loser. Bro jumped off the Groyper bandwagon. This guy is like the biggest nothing in history. Biggest nothing that has ever breathed on this earth. He was running Identity Europa, this like white nationalist group. Had nothing going for him, made no money, had no bitches, is a dweeb. Bandwagon onto my thing, even though he had a big problem with me, had a big chip on his shoulder, had all this animosity for me. When he saw the Groyper thing taking off, he jumped right on the bandwagon. Jumped right on the bandwagon and started doing flips and tricks on it. Like it was nobody's business. Then, when things got a little bit heated, he switched sides like grilled cheese. Things got a little bit heated and he switched sides. And so when the government came down, he was running for the hills. Extremist politics is over. And he started trying to get published in Chronicles with Paul Gottfried. And now it's like, okay, so what are you? Now you're like a Republican shill? So you're like pushing 40. You have no wife, no kids, no money, no income, no job. Nobody takes you seriously. No legacy. And you're what? Now you're a cheerleader for the GOP? You're not even around. He said, I gotta leave this movement. I'll never find a wife and I'm broke. So what, does Chronicles pay really? You cut it last time even though you got an interview from your friends. Did you cut it in this one or what's the next move after DCYR's? More money from mommy and daddy in South Carolina? Fucking loser. Fucking loser pushing 50. Anyway, going off a little bit, but I got betrayed. I was backstabbed by my closest friends.
Emoji, victory hand emoji.
You know, are they? Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, you're saying that. I know you're saying that. I've heard that before. I'm not sure. Are we just saying that uncritically, or?
Robert Maxwell's textbook said $25. There would have been no generational money.
have a display case full of toys, Funko Pops, Legos, and lightsabers. It's just like, come on, dudes. We gotta grow up a little bit here. I just don't get that. I also say when people use Lego as like singular, people say like, there's this new piece from Lego. It's Legos, bro. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know, man. That stuff really gets to me. I don't know how a person like finds themselves in that situation where they wake up one day and they're in a bedroom full of toys and they're an adult. I don't get it.
Cartoon style individual sent $50. The archive is chock full of gems. Unreal nostalgia in rewatching the dead 2018 Roblox stream. Hail Brunch, hail our people.
What's the? I don't even remember that. I don't remember ever playing Roblox.
Groiper sent $30.
But thanks.
Pulled into the priest office to discuss my Twitter account, Groiper. Blue collar Indiana is behind you. Praying for you daily.
Whoa. Call to the principal's
sent
office.
$50. Loving the new super chat system. Less money, less characters. Made me subscribe to America First Plus. Enjoy your extra $100 a month. Hot bake. Iran should like blow up Israel or something. I don't know.
Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah, they should have built a bomb. Iran should have built a nuclear bomb. I'm sure they're filled with regret. If they built a bomb, they would have gotten bombed anyway. Dumbass.
The Rooster sent $100. Big up.
Thank you for the big super chat, True.
Miss 24 sent $100. W. Nick, curious if you watched Mommy Candace's new TP hit piece out. I haven't watched it, just rather hear your take.
Thank you for the big super chat. I have not. I've caught bits and pieces of it. I just don't really get what is the point of all of this. So we're like 4 episodes in, and I see the clips, and it's like, okay, so there's a clerical error on this divorce filing, and her parents went to the school that has like a beehive as a mascot. Like, okay, what is the... So what? Like, what's the point of all this? I'm just waiting for all of it to come together. Any of it for that matter. The Egyptian planes. What does this have to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination? Like,
Driving around sent
I don't get
$100. Curious to how long you think Iran can keep promoting lower level officers to keep taking the helm. There must be a limited amount of people who know enough about their operation to actually stand up against strikes from the U.S. and Israel. Trump seems pretty determined to get all of them.
Thank you for the big super chat. Well, there's 200,000 Iranian Revolutionary Guards. So, to tell you the truth, I don't know what happens when you just kill all of them. I don't know. I assume somebody who's ambitious eventually takes charge, like Napoleon or something, and that's the Trump strategy. He's hoping that a pragmatic element within the IRGC will take power and negotiate with the United States. That is, I think, what Trump's endgame is.
Gumble 2 Gumble sent $20.
But you never know. It really comes down to the specific people thrust into the situation, how it's going to shake out.
Gumble 2 Gumble sent $20. Trump gives Iran to Israel. What do we get? I don't believe Trump is just getting hustled. Maybe some help against the left in the U.S., where it actually matters. You fight my enemy, I fight yours. Dago.
That's crazy, dude. You guys are just delusional. It's a sickness. It's actually a sickness. Why would you think that? Like, what would make you think that's the case? Why? Other than pure distilled coke, what would possibly make you... Do you see that happening? Have they passed the SAVE Act? No. They pulled out of Minneapolis. So what are you talking about? Well, I think Trump is going to get... What are you... It's a sickness. It's actually a disease. It's a mental disease. It is literally a mental illness. This is Trump derangement syndrome. No matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, here's how you can still win. It's still 5-dimensional chess. We're just not seeing it. Okay, dude. Sure. Whatever, man. That you are made to be ruled. You are why they call us Goyim.
French Fed sent $20. Your boy Asmongold is going overdrive, shilling for the war worse than Mark Levin.
Do not approve. I like Asmon, but I can't say I approve.
Frank Henderson sent $100.
Thank you for the big super chat.
Appreciate sent $20. Thanks for keeping up. You are doing great, man. Godspeed.
Thanks, buddy.
And then first sent $30. I love how the X narrative has now shifted to everybody knew that we were going to attack Iran.
Yeah, right. 2 years ago when I was saying it, people said he has horrible political instincts. He's not going to be in the Trump admin. He just ruined his career. Then a year later, they said, he's still wrong. It's not a real war. It's not a real war. We just bombed them. He's claiming victory, but he was wrong. Now, a year later, oh, well, anyone could have predicted it. Everyone knew we were going. Oh, really? It's great. They will never let you they will never give you the credit.
Ayatollah Slayer sent $20. It's staggeringly insane how Trump's administration entered a war with Iran with zero long-term planning.
Yeah, well, I know. So unlike the government to do. Really? Going to war without a plan? Going to war without a reason and no plan? Yeah, when has that ever happened? I can't believe it. Going to war without a plan and without a real reason in the Middle East? Yeah, who would ever do such a thing? This is unheard of.
Boss sent $25. So
Shocked.
glad I didn't vote for Andy Ogles. Clearly suck off Israel's cock. Good shit exposing his eye back. That's why you're a real nigga.
So true.
Muppet Chris
Thank you.
95 sent $50. I hopped on Myron's stream and listened to Ryan Dawson cheer American deaths and disrespect soldiers and their families. We may lack the moral high ground, but cheering our dead is vile. Ryan's a traitor.
He's a disgusting human being. It's obvious. He's a godless atheist and a subhuman. And anyone that, listen, we don't agree with the war, but the people that volunteer for the American military are patriotic. They do love their country. And they're actually brave, okay? Trying to raise money and bitching about, I'm broke, I don't have any money. Sneeko literally gave this fucking loser like $300 for food. And you're crying about the soldiers? You're a subhuman. Sorry. So yeah, he's dirt.
Store Nelly sent $20. Nick Land is a coward for attacking Groyperism instead of engaging with your ideas directly. Besides, it's not like you don't discipline Groypers who are addicted to low IQ porn.
Yeah, I don't listen to foreigners. That's simple.
A1 Groyper sent $20. The reason Nick didn't stream on Friday is because he is secretly the Ayatollah and had to flee before the bombs dropped. Heard Ferguson 6967 sent $50. If a single American booth touches Iran soil, we vote Democrat out of spite. At this point, we should regardless. Never Trump Fuentes 2036.
Now it's if the boots go to the ground. Come on now. Come on now. Here's how we can still win. Hey, if there's boots on the ground, I mean it. Come on. Come on. You people will tolerate anything.
Roach sent $20. I miss being a white nationalist man playing Civ 5 while debating Algerians on Zoom.
Very good.
RVP Travis sent $50. Did Magistan for Mobilize also aggressively manipulate Goyim again? Shout out to my little brother DV who is listening live.
Okay.
Who 18
You really want to shout him out after that?
Who 18 sent $20. I remember it.
After that diabolical joke?
Who 18 sent $20. I remember a time for you very vividly. Nick, you know, there are people who still think the wreck was about oil, even after everything. Can you believe that?
I know. I can. And I can.
Luca Groy sent $20. You were right about everything. You always are. Get yourself a pizza and enjoy the victory lap, boss. You earned it.
I think I will. Thank you.
Francesco sent $100. Who is Nick Fuentes? He's a working clock. W clock.
It's true. True. W clock. Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, not broke.
Biddy Sprinkles sent $50. No message. Biddy Sprinkles sent $50.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Dirty Grover sent $30. I believe Iran's anti-ship missiles are the method to dissuade ships from traversing the strait. Their navy was never a factor.
I think you're wrong about that.
Mom sent $100. My family keeps a candle lit for you at our local parish. May God bless and protect you. W emoji.
Hey, thank you for the big super chat. I appreciate your prayers. I need them. I do need them.
I sent $100. The more Matt Walsh tweets about this war, the better he gets, and the more pumped I get. But then I realize he's still working for a traitorous Antichrist Shylock, and thus, the angrier I get. In a strange way, this makes Walsh the king of goy retards.
Wow, you finally figured it out. Thank you for the big super chat. So true. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, you gotta just be able to see. It's not about having an emotional reaction. I'd see the tweets, then I'd get pumped, then I'd get mad, because Dude, he's a Shabbos goy. Like, until he's not, he is. So he can say all the good stuff in the world. He still works for Ben Shapiro. You don't need to be on this emotional roller coaster like an animal. Okay, let's just call it what it is.
For 007 sent $25. The country is starting to realize America first is our collective fate. The movement grows exponentially daily.
So true.
G36 Bubba Groy sent $30. Just got the USAQ zip. Very comfortable.
Awesome.
3 compliments already. God
Love it. Hey, I'm glad to hear that.
First Focky username sent $20. Big fan. You helped motivate me lock in this year, and I'm finally starting to get some results. Left me in as I'm 5 feet 7 inches. Therefore unfootable. Geopolitical picks are fucking grade A as well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but 5'7", it's over. It's over for us. Sorry. 5'9", 5'7", you're not 6'5"? You should just not leave the house. Okay. Why even be an imposition on the world? Or anyone, or anything for that matter. You weren't born 6'5", it's over before it even began. Okay, pal? Lock in, don't lock in. Invisibility cloak. But that's okay, you can always achieve something else, irrespective of that. You know? It doesn't matter.
I low-key wish Jacob Frey and Tim Waltz were running on centrifuges and enriching uranium, too.
Yeah, right.
Can't afford to throw on a gear, sent $20. Hello, Nick. Thank you for being a force for good in this world and for guiding many of us back to God. God bless and FADF.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
$20. Today's my 20th birthday. Thank you, Trump, for the gift.
Happy birthday. Enjoy. Hope it's a good one.
I also would have sent $20. If the war persists, do you foresee China making a movement in Pacific as we transfer resources to the Middle East and burning through years through our interceptor missile stockpiles?
I don't. I think that probably we are seizing on the fact that China is undergoing a major shakeup in the military. Maybe we expect that they will not make a move. I also think that Trump's intention is that this is as quick as possible so that we can redeploy to Asia. What the United States does not want is a protracted, entrenched, pitched war in the Middle East. He wants to hit them hard and get out and get back to the Pacific. That's the goal. And if that's the case, then China's temporarily reeling. We get in, we get out before they recover, before they make a plan. Now, if we're in there for a long period of time, then maybe China makes a move. I mean, they're thinking about that. So, all this is fairly obvious.
Grandma said $25. Hello, mister, you could be my grandson. If you haven't seen Tucker Carlson's take on this, might I suggest you do so? BBD and Stephen Crowder.
Hey there. Can't wait to meet up later.
I mean, 1 minute he's tied up in a 6-lane.
Fucking sucker, dog. It's what it is. What's this?
Attack. Israel attack. Matrix attack on the website. Matrix attack on Rumble. We're back? Okay, we're back. That's great. See, when did it cut out? I don't know when it cut out, but I'm just going to keep moving on anyway.
Trump Canadian sent $20. Love seeing degenerate Jews like Nugs talk to get mad over here, saying and rather vote Democrat. Nugs, by the way, got famous for showing his famous YouTube friends Lolly Hentai on porn.
I don't know who that is, but...
Roy sent $20.
Okay.
Great show. Is there no one in politics with an ounce of integrity?
There are, but, you know, they're toiling away silently in the shadows.
Roy sent $20. In from Trader Joe's and we're not fucking around anymore.
Hmm.
Die Hard Barrett sent $20.
Yes.
In the midterms, we will all be voting for Nick Vujicic's writing.
Yes, write me in.
59 sent $100. Our politicians, Israel doesn't control our decisions. Also, our politicians, Iran was going to attack first because we couldn't stop Israel from attacking Iran.
Yeah, right. Thank you for the big super chat. Exactly.
TG sent $200.
Exactly.
His monologue on the Iran war explicitly insisted that the war has nothing to do with Jews, but is just good old-fashioned Dosh geopolitics.
Yeah, I know. He goes, well, Israel's like any other country. Okay. It's just because of geopolitics. Really? Yeah, every other country has their tentacles all over our government with AIPAC and the ADL and the Adelsons. Sure thing, pal. Sure thing. Just, it has nothing to do with Jews in Israel. It's just good old-fashioned. Yeah, right. See, that's where him and I diverge. He says I'm a hater, I'm an anti-Semite. I don't hate anybody. I don't call myself an anti. Don't then just call me an anti-Semite. Just say you're lying to your audience or something. But that's a fact.
Heel Templar sent $100. Thank you for bullying me out of the Van Steel cult.
Thank you for the big super chat and the apology. Apology accepted. Yeah, I know you doubted me for a long time. It took a little while, but I'm glad you came on board. I appreciate it.
Ice Cream sent $20. Apology letter. I was just about to defend Michael Knowles just last Friday in the stream. Then more.
Yeah.
I'll never commit a thought crime again. Apology maxing for all plant trusters.
Thank you.
Nathan Hayers sent $20. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be in prison for the most part. And we would live in paradise.
TBH.
It's that simple. Hashtag America. Hashtag Cortez 2028. Hashtag fuck Israel.
So true.
Super Chat Stein sent $20. Voting Democrat? Donald Trump? Fuck it. I'm voting for the
I
most
like
anti-Israel Dem in the primary.
That's hilarious. I'm stealing that.
Blonde Growing Bat sent $20. W takes tonight. I put my family on TV recently and both my mom and sister love you.
Let's go.
Suit. Looking good tonight.
Yeah, I got this little number last week. I probably need to get it tailored. I lost so much weight. It's like I'm disappearing. I need to get it tapered in. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
DeKalb Broy sent $20. Excellent show, Nick. Did you see Vincent O'Shano on PBD melting down that you perfectly predicted the war with Iran? Smiley face.
No, someone send that to me.
Matthew sent $20. Shipping out with the Marines in April is a Newark Roy Brim conflicted about this Iran ship. Any thoughts, Nick?
Well, hey, man. Good luck out there, okay? They expect one of us in the wreckage. But thank you for your service, buddy. Just, I don't know, man. I guess you're locked in.
Grand State Roy sent $20. America first. The absolutely fucking right about absolutely fucking everything show.
That's just true.
Beaverson Say have sent $20. Kind of need Ja Rule's opinion of Britney Spears to get Tucker to trust our president. B2TW sent $50. It's an unsupported conclusion for Rubio to say Iran will retaliate against us following an Israeli attack. After all, Israel attacked Iran last year and the Iranians didn't attack us. Stupid excuse.
That's a good point.
I love Nick sent.
But they did have confidence they would do it.
I love Nick sent $20. I love you, Nick. I'm 18 and I've been facing issues with my girlfriend's friends trying to break us up, but she is amazing and likes listening to you with me. Thanks for everything you have done. Ready heart emoji.
Gotta be paid. It's gotta be paid.
Truth Lover 69 sent $20. The Cernovich DL is insane. Row is closing every 5 minutes. The coping from plant trusters is more entertaining than the war.
Well, his wife is Persian. His wife is a Persian, so obviously, and he's tied with Alan Dershowitz or
Let's
something.
Nick sent $30. Hi Nick. No, this may sound menial, but you said to not vote for any Republicans for 2026. Does that include James Fishbeck?
No.
Little sent $25. I wanted to send this super chat a lot earlier when you had your old suit to start a fund for her new suit, but I was poor.
Oh, well, thanks. I don't think I was not soliciting donations for clothes. I'm not broke, okay? Start a new fund for a suit. Please, don't insult me. Just send the super chats because you want to have the message read. A suit fund? What, I'm some kind of broke ass and raising money for the uniform? Do I look like I have a box of World's Finest chocolates on the desk? I'm raising money for my new uniform.
Well, sent $20. You have to admit it's cool that as a third world dictator, if you speak against the U.S., you just die. Nothing ever happens.
It is cool.
Just for sent $20. Not even trying to be mean. Just genuinely curious. How the hell is Sneeko famous? Nothing I've ever seen from him has been remotely entertaining other than Sean Strickland beating his ass.
I don't really know what his claim to fame is, but I think he's entertaining. I watch him. He's funny.
Rise off Stefano sent $20. You would believe after
He's
losing all these wars in the
watchable.
past 100 years that the reason Muslim can't win any war is that God ain't a Muslim.
That's funny. God ain't a Muslim. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can say that about any religion. Every religion has its ups and downs, right? I mean, what if the Jews said that after they got defeated by the Romans?
Enslave all Slavs sent $25. If these are really fake Jews, then if anything, they're Slavs. PSA to the Brownoids, these Jews are not white, they're Slavic. Leon Wilson 00 sent $20. Great show. I appreciate your work. I'm from the UK. What are your thoughts on Rupert Lowe? Does he seem legit to you or a page from the Trump playbook with the captivating deportations rhetoric?
I don't know. I really don't know anything about him.
UC Vader sent $20. Can you please explain some of the details of Israel's knowledge behind 911? Pretty disturbing.
It's all out there. Dancing. Everyone knows it. Really, you don't know at this point? It's dancing Israelis, art students. Come on, this is just like 101 at this point. Could you please explain? Google dancing Israelis. How about that? For everyone knows this stuff at this point. Okay.
Hans sent $50. Watched you on NXR. You guys criticized Lincoln for planning to return the slaves to Africa after the Civil War. WTF? America would be heaven without the Africans.
No, I don't think I criticized him for that. Don't think I was critical of
Your
that.
employer sent $20. Candace discredits the right by acting crazy. You should stop saying the N-word and fix her act so we can recruit more people.
Who's we?
Bigard 1857 cents.
Who's we? You're not really a factor in this, okay? This is me. Who is the genius that did the show? That's me. Not we, me. Who's the genius that stuck it out and predicted everything and got this mass following? Oh, wait, yeah, that was me. Okay, you don't have a platform. You did not go mega viral. You did not mainstream all these ideas. I did. And I did that partially by saying the N-word. So maybe I know better than you watching at home. That's why I'm on the side of this camera and you're on the other side. Let's start there. Maybe that's a place we could start with our plans.
Bigard 1857
Little recognition.
Christ is king.
Thank you for the massive super chat. I appreciate it. I love all that. We got to do this. We ain't doing nothing, okay? We don't have people shooting at us from outside our front door. We don't get doxxed. We don't have people up our ass following our every move. We are not censored and no-fly listed. That's me. Me did all that. Me had all that happen to me. You hung out until it all got mainstream, and then you got red-pilled yesterday, okay? Anyway, thank you for the huge super chat. Big Red 07's in the super chat, one of our big donors. We love you, buddy. Appreciate the support.
Prospective artisan sent $20. Is there nothing wrong with the fact that Rubio would just point blank say that Israel forced us into the war? I had assumed that they would be more time-lived about that being the case. Big Green 4440 sent $20. Fuck the GOP, burn it down.
Yeah,
I could see your grandma sent $100. Consider me to be with you. I will not vote for any Republican. I was done when I saw the cabinet picks.
And you are red-pilled for that. You are based for that. Thank you for the big super chat. You are better than most. You're right. That is when you knew it was going to be like this, but people were in denial. They didn't want to admit it.
Crispy Stanky 43 cents $2. I get the sense that you were a trad Catholic. How do you feel about Senate vacantists?
They're Protestants. They're Protestants. I'm Catholic.
Emma Sirius sent $20. Israeli PM saying that our trip.
I'm not a trad Catholic. I'm Catholic, dumbass. No, sorry. You weren't coming across hostile. I'm not trad. I'm just Catholic. Okay.
Emma Sirius sent $20. Israeli PM saying that our Turkish Republic is next Iran. How will U.S. respond when Turkey imposes Article 5 when they attack our country? 6 Turkish F-35s we paid for held hostage in U.S. because of Israel.
Yeah, it's going to be different, okay? Because Turkey is a NATO.
The phrase sent $2. Please don't deport Muslims when you become president on Make One Birth Law and stop Islam spread. Just want to stay in the USA. Crying face emoji.
Well, then stop praying at Times Square.
Shoegaze Bro Ever sent $50. Sneeko the critical thinker. The guy who fell for Islam. Sure, buddy.
Yeah, if someone comes to a different conclusion, then they must not be thinking. Yeah, you're a genius.
Unflexible 6 feet 4 inches chat sent $20.
It's
What's your take on women potentially being able to tell when a man is a gooner? I get more action when I stay off that shit.
You think they can detect that? I wouldn't know. I'm not
Arminius said
involved in any of
it's
that.
an unsupported conclusion for Rubio to say Iran would retaliate against us following an Israeli attack. Last year, that didn't happen in almost the same circumstances.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you said that.
Shade sent $20. Shock and awe military doctrine. U.S. versus conventional military doctrine. Iran. I'm interested to see if the U.S. overextends by putting troops on the ground via paratroopers and ends up encircled.
It's not shock and awe. The purpose is not to shock or to awe. The purpose is using every domain. It's multi-domain operations, MDO. Using multiple domains, cyber, space, air, naval, and ground. It's using all the intelligence, this fifth generation warfare, to basically disintegrate all the material, all the personnel in a very short amount of time to prevent a war of attrition. That's what, it's not shock and awe, it's a different doctrine, actually.
Listen, Spencer sent $20. I disagree that Iran would have attacked those bases if Israel attempted this themselves. They didn't attack all these last bases when we destroyed their nuclear program. Feel free to correct.
Well, according to Rubio, they already have those launch coordinates and missile launch platforms in place. I tend to believe that. I think that might be true. Iran was preparing a preemptive strike. I tend to believe that. I think that's possible.
Base the Negro Slayer sent $21. What books do I read to get as smart as you?
Oh, very good.
Coach's Cake sent $20. Netanyahu must be in your closet because the drip is real.
Very good. The drip is real. I think we got a couple more from Sunday that I guess...
Base Wang sent $20. Nicholas J. Fuentes. If you can hear me, please save me, Nicholas J. Fuentes. Literally the go to political commentary.
So true.
What are your thoughts on John Kiriakou saying Israel threatened nuclear war if we didn't intervene further on Iran's nuclear development? And Trump / our military attack to avoid nuclear war /
They've done it before. They've done it before. They did it in 73. No doubt that is at least implied.
Scott Free, veteran, sent $50. Unfortunately, a well-deserved victory lap.
Indeed.
Ski 2 sent $100. Thanks for waking me up to the truth, America first.
Thank you for the big super chat. I appreciate
Subversion
it.
Freak Series sent $200. Code word Ronald MC Donald. Thanks for everything.
Yes, good times. Thank you for the huge super chat. Okay, that's our last super chat. That's going to do it for me. Yeah, that's all we got for you. Remember to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. I'm on the air Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock Central. I'll be live tomorrow like 9:30 to pick up where we left off here. Thank you to our top super chatters. There's a lot of them. Big special thank you. Let me try this. That didn't work. Okay. Big special thank you to... Let me try this. Nope, that didn't work either. Thanks to Big Red, 6 or 7 million, Marble Groiper, Northern Cowboy, Wyatt, Tony, Subversion, Tits McGee, JRP, Coastside, Groiping Around, Whiskey, I Could Be Your Grandma, Sneeko, Groiper Forever, The Scenario, Versace Groiper, Islas Chud, Lane, Reno, Silesia, Yapping, Callie, Dripinowski, Catherine, Goy Exploder, Blue Collar, Rooster, T-Missile, Frank Henderson, Francesco, Groiper Mom, Scat Buchanan. Gross, really. Autistic Maxing, Fenceman, and El Thempler. Thanks to all of them. Thanks to all our super chatters, everybody that watches. We love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your evening.
It's going to be only America first. America